fancy contraptions.
Maybe there.
So it's on the Vestiges channel.
It should be, yeah, on the church channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got a
It's
notification.
really dark.
Oh, yeah?
I'm getting it brighter. Hang on, I'm getting the settings. Give me a second. They keep changing or updating. This should be fun.
On the fire.
I don't think it. Okay, now it should be good enough. No? Turn up the brightness on your phone. You have it on dark.
Oh, we are on.
Yeah, we should be live right now.
Hello.
To a stormy Georgia night.
If people complain, we'll put on a light. It's a little bit.
I'm just finding a way to send this link to.
I'm just getting my.
Hello, guys. We are.
everyone.
Let me camera. So we're out here at my house with Jamie Wolf and Father Chris Yates,
Yo.
Tracy,
Yo.
Hello.
and I thought we'd surprise you all. Hello from Arkansas. Yeah.
Hey, Arcade.
Oh yeah.
Hello, Richard. So let me go back to Tracy if you want to take over. All right. So we thought we'd stream. We were going to do, originally, before I knew I was moving, we were going to do a Vestiges After Dark all together in-house. No Zooming. But then we discovered that we're moving.
Did this go to Mighty?
No. Someone would have to link Mighty to let them know. You need to
got
do
it.
that?
I got it.
Okay. So,
Yes, it is raining.
is all the AV equipment is in boxes buried somewhere.
It's
So
buried.
I have no idea where it is, so we can't really do a Vestiges right now.
We don't know if it survived.
And we don't even know if this internet can support it yet, but that would be a good experiment.
Yeah.
So we're going to do this instead. And it just had a major thunderstorm that came through. The pool is almost overflowing. And we're sitting by the fire here just enjoying the evening, right?
I'm drinking Australian whiskey.
Oh, the most
some
fabulous
very
Australian.
Thank you, Father Chris.
Star what?
Starwood. Yeah, it just got world's
So if
best
your
whiskey.
cigarettes are $60 a pack, this must be like what, $20,000?
No, they've got to keep Australians happy somehow.
Right.
So,
So liquor's still affordable.
Even when we had to have 2 jabs to get a pair of socks, you could still go in an off license. You can still buy grog. So,
You really?
yeah, no problem.
Don't mess with a man's whiskey.
Yeah.
So I'm introducing Father Chris to my favorite. Hit it on wide angle. Okay. I'm introducing Father Chris to my favorite non-Cuban cigar. It's a Tatuaje Tianos.
Delicious.
It's absolutely one of the best. I mean,
Really, very good.
yeah, made by old school Cubans in Miami.
Amazing.
And they're still pretty serious about,
Yeah.
cigars out there. Probably more so than Cuba today. That's what we were talking about. It's like the quality control in Cuba is not what it used to be. So people get this idea about the legendary Cuban cigar. Now, yeah, I mean, a Cohiba Esplendido, if you can still find them, that is an amazing cigar. But a lot of the Cohibas
I swear that I
are
can't.
just kind of standard.
I think a lot of the appeal of Cuban cigars was precisely because America banned them.
Probably.
You know, if you ban something, that's one way to increase demand. So it's
forbidden
like prohibition,
fruit.
right?
Right.
It's original sin, Father. Is what it is.
And for those of us who are a bit oppositional, it's
Yeah.
like red rag to a bull.
That's right.
Not that we know anyone like that.
No,
No.
of course not.
I can't. I know no one here.
But no, this is a wonderful whiskey, and thank you so much for sharing it.
Oh, thanks for your hospitality. This really is a beautiful place. I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
Partly because of how restricted things have been in recent years. But
Well, we were worried you weren't making because so many flights have been canceled.
Yeah,
There
right.
Yeah,
were
I was
shortages with
checking the
pilots and
flights
everything.
this morning
Well,
like every hour.
They dropped all of the testing requirements,
Yeah,
which has
helps.
meant that the pilots and crew also don't have to be tested. So
That helps.
it does help. So, but yeah, this is my first time in the South. I've been to
So
America.
you've never been to the South?
Never been to the South. Always wanted to come. I'm desperately worried about saying the wrong thing. But, like saying I've always wanted to be in Dixieland.
You can still say that among certain
I
people.
can still say that, okay? Yeah.
I think the old
It's
Confederate
still
Southerners would like it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's why I've been-
downtown Atlanta, I would
That's
say
why
that.
I've been careful. Because you just don't know. Well, really, I say that because I like an American trilogy by Elvis. So I was listening to that all
Yeah.
last week
Yeah.
just to get myself in the mood.
Get yourself ready for it.
Yeah. Or the old John Fogerty, a Creedence song. Cotton Field, the old Cotton Fields back home. I was listening to that too.
Well, I did take the liberty to make reservations at our favorite restaurant.
Oh,
Now, if
shoot.
you have something that you want to do that is like pure South, like good old Southern barbecue or something, we can make changes.
I thought
But
about that tonight, but I thought
Brazilian
it'd be really heavy
barbecue,
considering what we're eating tomorrow.
we have a place
Well, I'm
called
a Brazilian
Fogo de Chão.
Catholic, right?
You are.
So you
Speaking
probably know about
Portuguese?
Fogo de Chão.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I believe you know a very good one.
Well, this is our favorite restaurant in Atlanta, and
Yeah,
it's
right.
probably one of the best.
And I've only been to one twice, I think. Jen's watching; she'd remember.
A Fogo or a Brazilian barbecue?
Brazilian barbecue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they know us. They know us at this Village. I was there last week.
And if I have to eat
And,
lots of beef,
Cheater.
I will.
They know you?
Just for my birthday.
I'm-
My bestie
I'm teasing
Hey, you know,
you.
I
They
got
remember me.
$25.
Happy birthday.
They took really good care of me.
I got $25. They remembered you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Did you see, what's our favorite guy?
Tim?
No, the
The guy looks like Gronsky.
Oh, Luciano.
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 Yeah.
He's the
I
one that
saw
does
it
the
when I spoke to
picanha.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I have to eat lots of beef, I'll try.
Very
You'll
good.
You know,
put in a
nor-
good
normally-
college effort.
I
Or-
normally only eat cabbage, but I will try.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
right.
they don't have it here, so-
I was going to say lettuce.
It's
but
the
at moment-
hospitable thing to do, right?
I was going to say
There's
lettuce.
no
but-
way you've been living in Australia as long as you have and you're eating cabbage.
Right, I was going to say lettuce, but at the moment in Australia, lettuce is $10 a head.
Mmm.
There's a vast lettuce
Lettuce
shortage.
shortage.
There was a flood in
Is that a
northern New
bad
South
thing,
Wales.
though?
Well, I'm not sure I'll ever get over it. But it's that bad that apparently KFC are now putting cabbage on their burgers because they can't get the lettuce.
Wow.
So,
That's
you know.
awful.
Oh,
Like all lettuce, like-
I've been awake all night worrying about it.
And honestly, whenever I get a chicken sandwich, that's the first thing I take off. is lettuce.
That's just condiment,
No, this is
right?
water.
Followed by a tomato.
Yeah, no. Give me mayonnaise, bacon,
Of course, on an Australian burger, it's an Australian burger because you get an egg on it
Mm-hmm.
and you get beetroot on it.
Beetroot.
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 Yeah.
I've had
Okay.
egg. I've never
I mean,
had
I'll
beetroot.
go for the egg, but the beetroot, I'm not so sure.
Well,
I would
I grew up
never-
in Manchester where we eat a lot of pickled beetroot, so it.
I mean, pickled anything is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever had Wickles pickles?
No.
Wickles
That's
pickles?
good old
What on
Southern.
earth is a Wickles
You want
pickle?
a southern
It's
delicacy?
an Alabama pickle. It is
I did have
divine.
for the first time a Chick-fil-A.
She was
I
saying.
took
I
The
know
Lord's
this-
chicken.
to the
What'd you
Lord's
think of it?
chicken, and he
I
loved
thought it was
it.
delicious.
I looked up
it's
and
a
it was
Christian
gone.
organization.
Yeah. I know of them. You see. I've heard all about it from Ben Shapiro. For a Jew, he's very agitated about evangelical Christians, and so I'd heard all about Chick-fil-A. And
Closed on Sunday, so when you get that craving for lemon,
Oh, is that right?
It's always Sunday. You
Well,
always
you've
crave
got to give
Chick-fil-A
them
on
that.
Sunday.
You've got to give them that. They go with it. So,
So we go with it.
but I was really impressed by it. I thought it was
Spicy?
pretty
It's probably one of the better fast food places you could.
You got the spicy chicken?
good. I got the
Oh,
spicy
yeah.
chicken. Yeah.
You know, they just brought back the spicy chicken biscuit.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything came hot and fresh, and they brought it to the table, and it was.
Oh, it's great when you get tableside because they give refills.
I haven't had Chick-fil-A in months. very tasty.
Aw, everyone's like, we missed you guys.
Like I said, I can't believe I'm here
It's kinda
in
surreal.
Georgia and with
I
you.
can't get everyone in this
We're out here
room.
talking politics, religion, philosophy.
So nothing contentious.
Drinking
Nothing at all.
Nothing controversial at all.
Nothing.
And, smoking good
And we're,
cigars
we're,
and
we're
whiskey.
enjoying the elements because we have the fire
Yes,
and the
we've
water.
got
And
fire.
This is really good. Yeah, when you said put the fire on, I was like, where's the fire?
Right here.
It's a table and it's a fire.
Yeah.
Presumably important to take off that bit of timber first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you leave it on, it wouldn't be.
It does give a bit of heat.
Oh
It's
yeah,
nice.
this keeps you warm in the winter. If you want to sit down and have a cigar when it's cold,
Yeah, right.
this keeps you perfectly warm.
Well,
and this is on low.
when I stepped off out of the airport, the heat and humidity reminded me
Oh,
of
yeah.
Australian summer. I've come from Australian winter, of course. So
Yes.
and
Yes.
we had nothing but
what's-
rain.
So what's the temperature right now out there typically? 60?
Right now,
50, 60?
In Fahrenheit.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, I forget.
You got to convert because
Well,
we can't
this
do
is the
that.
weird thing. Like in England, we use Celsius for cool and Fahrenheit for
You
hot.
do. You do.
So
I keep forgetting. Yes.
So it gets to about 5 Celsius at night.
Okay, so
We're
cold.
going freeze.
It's pretty chilly.
Pretty cold though.
Yeah, it's cool.
Too
but-
cold to sit
I'd
out.
have the
Yeah,
windows
yeah.
open.
Well, they have the gas burners out at the
Oh,
pubs
well,
and
yeah.
everything, but yeah, and of course in summer it's often over 30 at night, so
Mm.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we experienced that
which you would be
last
here,
week.
presumably.
Yeah, we had a heat wave.
We had a heat wave
we
that came
had,
through.
3
While we
4
were
days
moving.
of holy
Yeah,
crap.
right.
Those poor guys.
No doubt.
While we were moving, we were.
I can't believe that these guys have just moved into this house, and I moved house about 2 years ago, and almost exactly actually, it was 4th of July we moved in. And
Congrats.
not that that's a date that anyone thinks about in Australia or
You don't?
You might
Why
ponder
not?
a little bit here, mister.
The date of freedom.
but I'm going to be in Las Vegas on the 4th of July this year, so I think I will think
You
about
are
it.
going to have
But,
fun.
but when I moved house, there's no way my house would be as set up as this is. This is unbelievable. I can't believe they just moved house. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, my office, my library sucks. But,
Sure, yeah,
and
but
the
you
chapel is a mess.
But it's not far off. I can
Oh,
see,
it'll be done next
I can
week.
see it taking shape.
I think we might be able to, for those who have been wondering, I think we'll be able to have mass not this weekend, but possibly next. We can probably go back to,
We'll have to do the
to
consecration
having
mass.
and we can
yeah.
do the consecration mass so you can see
Definitely.
what that's like.
Oh yeah.
And then I think I'm going to wait until fall when the forest will get a little bit thinner, and then I'm going to seal the entire property line,
Yeah, we need to take
all
it from me.
all 18 acres of it.
It's,
Yeah, that's
it's
a big job.
stifling in the forest
Yeah,
right now.
big
The
job.
ticks
Yeah.
are really bad.
That's
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
for downhills.
Yes.
So, cooler weather would probably
Well,
be
Yeah,
better.
good.
knock on wood, but we haven't seen any mosquitoes yet.
I have.
Oh, I have.
I have not had any mosquitoes around here.
Not yet.
Well,
I don't
Lots of
know what-
fireflies, though. We had fireflies the other night trying to
Compared to
communicate with the
where I
lights. It
used
was
to live
so
in Australia,
cute.
Aw.
It was
Like-
so sad. He was like, "What? I don't know what you're saying."
the
How are
mosquitoes
you?"
are everywhere.
Yeah.
You got a pretty
Well, I mean, that's
butt.
what we're used to.
Here, I'm going to show everyone the
Yeah.
lights real quick.
But you know, on the out here for some reason, I don't know if they've traded the property.
Yeah, right.
They do that around here.
You can spray them.
You can spray them out and they just stay away.
Well, the environmentalists got into it in Australia, so now we have lots of
Oh, you
mosquitoes.
can't- you can't do that,
We'll
yeah.
just get Ross River fever instead. So that's
Everybody,
better.
yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, nice compromise.
But it's like there's a creek all about
Really?
11 acres that way. There's a creek, and I would think that would draw in a lot of mosquitoes.
See, I feel like I've ruined your time because you can't worry this Englishman about snakes
Oh yeah.
because I live in Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Right.
get every poisonous thing.
The top 10 most venomous snakes in
Yeah.
the world.
Pretty crazy looking creatures, too.
We got a
I
question.
mean, your sea
Uh-oh,
creatures
question.
are dangerous. Everything's
Yeah.
dangerous.
And the drop bears, don't
Oh,
we go?
we got a
You gotta get
question.
them-
So Moosh wants to know why we would need to seal the property.
I do that with every property when I move into a new place because I don't want anything coming in.
Right.
And
Especially if you're in exorcism.
well, because things find you and they follow you, and I like to be able to keep that. I mean, let's be honest.
I mean, my property's warded, blessed, and
It's the same reason we bless houses, right?
right.
It is, and we will.
Same thing we
have
do for
not
clients.
Formally blessed this house. I've done a very simple blessing when I step through the doors, and that kind of thing. But no, I'm going to do a full formal. This will be the 18 acres that surround this house will be holy ground.
Right. Remember, we're putting in a cemetery
We're gonna put a
area
cemetery,
for
too.
people to send their ashes that haven't been given a
Wh-
proper
wh-
right.
Whenever and any Christian can do this, but priests do it all the time. If we visit someone's house, we say, "Peace be upon this place and all who dwell herein." And that's perfectly scriptural. Any kind of biblical Christians watching.
And then we invoke angels to reside and protect.
Because Jesus said, let your peace be upon that house. If it settles there.
Yes.
We've got another question.
Is Jamie any closer than 2 hours to the new house?
Oh God, yes. She's
Yes.
only a half hour.
Currently.
I'm about 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
However,
However,
Father Chris is about 18 hours.
Yeah.
So it shaved an hour off his commute.
Just saved an hour of your commute because you don't have to go all the way up to the mountains now. We're all the way near the airport.
Yeah, that's right. I can get a taxi here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You really could.
Oh, yeah. It's not far.
It's not that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it feels like it's more remote than where we live, because we were up in the hills, but we were closer to town. Here, this is a forest. That is, and it's part of a nature reserve, the Clinton Reserve, that's down all the way down.
Did you
that
see that
way.
preserve over there? 200-acre preserve,
Yeah.
right around the corner.
see I've
Which means it will never
10-year
be
project.
developed.
I've just
Which makes it
got 17
quieter
acres
around.
down south near LaGrange, Georgia, and it backs up to the Army Corps of Engineers, which is a reservoir at West Point Lake, and it's several hundred acres. So
Nice.
I'll be very content as well soon.
Another question.
Another question. So it's an addendum to the ceiling.
Yep.
Moosh asks, but I didn't think the cemetery ground would be on your property. I thought it was on the church property.
It will be on church property.
Right.
Yeah. We're Jamie was talking about
it's not in
the
the back
entire
garden.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will be. We're doing both at the same time because I didn't want. Well, first of all, I don't want to commute 2 hours to the church because I need to be more available than that. And if we're going to be doing the demonology program in phase 3, I need to be close enough where I can get to the church whenever I need to.
Pretty quickly.
So yes, the 2 separate properties, but we will have it, and I will probably have. I'll probably reserve a part of this property for the time being for that purpose.
See, the ceiling, I think the confusion is that this is the same thing that we would do for a client. This is the same thing that
Correct. This
you've-
is the
same
same
thing
thing
you've seen done
that
on
every
Ghost
Christian
Adventures.
should
Right.
do. The problem is, it is appropriately done by a priest, though the church does allow a property owner to officially bless their property, just as a parent can officially bless their child. But it's not a sacramental blessing, which is the only a priest or bishop can do. So the problem that happens is that there's not enough priests anymore to do this. Back in the day, when you had a diocese, a parish that had maybe 15 or 20 priests in the rectory.
My God, can you imagine?
You could have blessings every.
Traditionally, it was done on Epiphany.
Yeah.
So it was done on the Feast of the Epiphany, where at the Epiphany served the Mass, you bless chalk, and you bless water, and the water's used to bless the houses, and the priest would go around and bless the houses, and the chalk seals the property.
Yes.
So, and with the chalk that's blessed at Epiphany,
Yes,
you
the
put
Epiphany.
year
Yes.
and the initials of the 3 wise men,
Yeah.
Caspar, Mel, and in England you put a crown over the top because we've still got a.
Because you gotta.
You still gotta have that monarchy,
Got that monarchy. and in Australia, I do it because they've still got a monarchy, even if many of them don't like
That's
to
what
remember
makes you
it.
fun, because libertarianism isn't exactly a compatible concept with the monarchy.
It is with a constitutional monarchy.
I guess with the constitutional, yeah.
I was talking about this earlier on, but Stephen Fry said because he loves America and he loves to in free speech debates. But he said, the one thing that's a shame about the American system is you've merged the ceremonial head of state with a political head of state.
Yeah.
So, and that's why people didn't like Donald Trump being the president. Oh, I don't like him. He shouldn't be our head of state. Well, in Britain, that's separated. So the Queen is the ceremonial head of state, but really the Prime Minister is the politician.
Yeah.
So we can all hate the Prime Minister and love the Queen, and she never says anything, which means you can't disagree with her,
Right.
And
Smiles
so,
and waves.
and now what Stephen Fry said was, in America, they might not. So let's say they don't want to become a constitutional monarchy again, or for the first time, one could argue. He said the president, they should have a room, a museum, a mausoleum museum type thing built, and a statue of Uncle Sam should be put in that place. And once a week, the president must have to go there and bow his head to Uncle Sam and then carry on with his job. Because once a week, the Prime Minister.
I do like that about
Every Thursday, he goes to meet with the Queen and he has to bow his head, and it reminds him there's an authority greater than him. And
well, in America,
I like that idea.
authority
That's
is
good.
supposed to be God, but they're getting away from that now.
But
Oh,
you
big
see,
time.
what monarchy says is that needs to be instantiated in a person, so the memory can't be
The divine
eradicated.
right thing.
Yeah. So now in absolute monarchs, that's not a good thing, but in constitutional monarchs, it is a good thing. So, and of course, it was a very loyal British thing to do, to rebel against taxation without representation.
Yeah.
That didn't happen in England. So I'm a strong defender of those rebels who were very English in refusing to
But there was
submit
so
to
much
that.
good tea lost, though.
I know there was.
And it was a good tea.
And that is unforgivable.
Yeah, it is.
It wasn't whiskey.
At least it wasn't
At least
whiskey.
it
right?
wasn't whiskey.
But the Scots were smart. We're like, they just started exporting single malts. In the 1970s, in the United States, you could not get single malt. It was unheard of.
By its very definition, it was in short supply.
Yeah.
That's why blended whiskey was a thing.
Well, even
Um,
let me give you an example. There's a company.
See, you just don't
Yeah.
never know what we're going to talk about.
There's a company that I buy, a French company that I buy all my cheese from, because in the United States, unpasteurized cheese is not legal. Okay.
I thought this was the land of the free.
Well, about that.
Funny thing you
like
should
I
mention.
said, I mean,
Government save me from
just
myself.
because there's conservatives, it doesn't mean we're free. They have a different type of slavery,
Yeah.
But anyway, so we can get unpasteurized cheese shipped in because they don't care about that. It just can't be sold by an American company in America.
So you only trust French people to make unpasteurized cheese?
Well, I just don't think they give a damn.
I mean, they do know what the hell they're doing.
So,
Oh, yeah.
and there are limits. I mean, I think there's some cheeses they still can. But anyway,
The French are good for something.
Right.
I would never. No one would make the mistake of calling me a Francophile. But they do make good
They
cheese.
make
I'll
good
give it
cheese.
that. And brandy.
and wine.
Oh yeah, the
Wine.
brand, yeah. on
French,
point.
French
Their wine can
cuisine.
be overrated, I think. The best
The
wine
good
is
wine.
phenomenal.
The good wines. I mean,
Yeah.
If you okay, let me put it this way. In the United States, if you buy a $20 bottle in Napa Valley, that's going to be better than a $20 bottle of
Yeah.
French wine. But if you start getting into like the $200 range of French wine,
Yeah,
it
they're off
pales
scale.
to $200 Napa. It really
It's the
does.
same in Australia. Like
Yeah.
basic Australian wines are as good as any French wine.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you get up the scale.
So with that in mind, I buy my cheese from this French company.
Yeah.
And it was my father-in-law, Tracy's dad, who discovered the company because one Christmas he's like, let's do something fun and different. We're going to get cheese shipped in. And he bought this big assortment, and it came with a bottle, because it was the right time of year, of Beaujolais Nouveau. George DeBuff, Beaujolais
right.
Nouveau. And so her mom said, well, one bottle's not going to be enough, so I'm going to go to the store and get more. Same vintage, same vineyard. I almost said distillery. Same vineyard. Okay. We opened up the George DeBuff that came with the cheese first, and we were like, "Boy, this is the best Beaujolais Nouveau we've ever had." Because usually it's kind of a fresh wine, and it might not. I kind of prefer aged wines. It's very fresh. It doesn't last long, only like a couple weeks, and then it spoils really generally.
Yeah.
Then we opened up the stuff she bought here. It tasted like swill.
Yeah.
We poured it out. It was the same vineyard, the same vintage. They keep the best stuff for themselves.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They do, and I think the Scots were,
That's
they were
absolutely true.
smart about the single malts, and then it somehow got out.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
And Johnny Walker, that was
Johnny
pretty
Walker.
much it.
It's still
question.
ubiquitous.
It is.
Yeah.
Question for the classroom.
It's not a question. It's
Oh,
Marina
okay.
going, is Father Christ there?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
I am.
Yes, he is.
We're all here
Hello.
together.
I just happened to be driving through the airport earlier and
Got a ding.
saw this British Australian fella.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
Drove through and
She
scooped him
was
up.
driving through the slums and saw him.
I had no shoes or socks on.
He was lost and he looked
Lost and
Yeah, he
confused.
was lost and confused. She rescued him and brought him
Yeah,
here
I
to
saved him.
safety.
I was in a
Yeah.
tent in the park.
Looking for barbecue,
He
right?
got lost on his way to the to the Hollywood and Vine. He ended up here.
Oh, dear.
Should have took that right turn at Albuquerque.
That's right.
See, this is why you need to travel with someone like me. I can keep you on the right track.
That's a straight and narrow.
So stay off I-40.
I can tell that.
My God, if we were all in Vegas together.
We have a
I'll
blast.
be there 3rd and 4th of July.
Oh,
Come join
man.
us.
We usually go around New Year's. That's when we're usually there.
We're going to Zach's Museum.
Have a good
Nice.
time with that.
Have
Now,
fun.
Be prepared. People
You got-
think
you-
it's about the ghosts and the paranormal.
It's
got some
not.
stuff
It
with you?
is. It's about.
It's macabre.
Yeah,
it's
it's pretty bad.
20% ghosts, 20%.
Oh, it's like
a
It's
lot
the
of serial
evil.
killers.
It's the evils
Yeah.
of man.
Yeah.
It
Evils
really
of men.
is.
It's an exploration of the evils of men, which I think is actually a brilliant thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Because that's that's the true
demonic.
Satan.
The crusade.
That is the true Satan.
Absolutely.
The evil that lives within us that we do.
He's the tempter,
Yes.
and people do his work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
We were last night. We were at Ripley's, believe it or not, on the Strip in
Oh,
Hollywood.
I wanted to go there.
And of course they did a show from there, right?
Yeah.
And they had
Yeah.
the
They
Egyptian
did.
foot thing. So
Yes.
I walked past that.
I'm not
and
touching the foot.
I didn't. Well, it's in a box. I didn't touch it.
I know, he touched
but,
the foot.
He did touch it, but
Zach.
I
Don't touch
He
the
touches
touched animals,
everything.
Too.
yeah.
Stop touching
Pissed the
feet of
guy
dead
off.
things, Zach.
the guy
Stop
that
touching
the
dead things'
custodian.
feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Same
He was
thing to
very angry
Annabelle.
about that.
I bet. Well,
Stop touching demonic items.
I did give it a sneaky blessing to try and kind of do something. But,
Well, he was blessing people when we got out. We
Every
It's
time
Zach's, yeah.
we've
we
gone,
just happened to have some holy water with us. I don't
Yeah.
know how it ended up in my
Oh,
pocket.
who knows?
I don't know. It just
When I-
happened to be there.
when
Zach will be
I'm
there.
not in clerical uniform, I look very different than I do on TV, which I'm always in clerical
Yeah,
uniform. So people do not immediately recognize me like they do Jamie
Yeah.
because Jamie
Jamie is Jamie.
looks the same.
It's the ponytail.
It's the hair.
It's
and she
the
always-
swagger.
She always has the swagger. She always
It's not a swagger. That is a limp.
it's a little
I'm not waving, I'm
swagger, too.
drowning.
Full disclosure. That is a limp.
But you turned it into something charming.
it's
Yeah.
true.
It's
Yeah.
so charming.
That's my penguin walk.
So yeah. So
I'm a
when
balanced
they
cigar
see me, they don't immediately know.
You can have the
it's
rest of
me,
this
but they're
one.
like,
Yeah.
"You seem
Yeah.
somewhat familiar." And then
I'm-
when they
I'm
realize it,
struggling
they
with it.
always ask for
COVID
blessing.
protocol.
Yeah.
Every
COVID
time.
protocol is in place. People, don't worry about it.
Just burning. It's fine.
What's going on? You losing stuff?
No.
No, I killed mine.
Oh, you killed yours.
I just had a little robusto. It was small.
Oh, okay.
So she's taking the rest
Oh,
of
she's
mine.
taking yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm having trouble keeping up with it. So.
You want me to go get you a round?
No. It's because I'm having to keep putting it down.
Oh,
I'm,
Watch
I'm
your
losing
glasses,
it.
'cause
so.
it's-
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
getting kind of hot.
That's why it's in my left
Yeah,
hand.
you don't want to torture. It's not brandy, everyone. You don't want to heat your whiskey.
No, this is cask strength as well, so
It's-
it would go
It
very
probably
Pete
would
says-
go up. wouldn't it?
Let me tell
Yeah.
you.
He says you're part cop, part sister, part native shaman.
That's
Yeah,
true.
actually, you're pretty correct on that.
Pretty on the
I have,
nose.
I have my toes dipped in every bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, I did a ex-cops pilgrimage to because I was in Los Angeles the last 2 days, and I had to go to the city hall because it's lethal weapon, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah,
So
it is.
I had to go and see that, but I didn't get too close because it's got a
It's also
massive...
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, that's right. But it's
Now you're telling our age.
that's right.
Eddie Murphy, man. Come on.
Ancient. Ancient.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, but I had to say lethal weapon because it's got an Australian in it, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Little Mel.
He was born here. He was born
And he's a
born
good
in America.
Catholic.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
No, he is.
He's a very like traditional kid.
Latin mass Catholic.
They added
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Only when I have to be.
I mean, he's probably too Catholic for the Pope right now.
So when he comes,
You know?
when he comes to Australia, he's in Sydney, and it's Sydney Roman Catholic Cathedral, St Mary's, which is a beautiful cathedral. It sounds like I'm setting this up, and I kind of am. But I looked round it the first time, and I thought, this looks like an English cathedral. This like, you know, like as in an Anglican cathedral.
Yeah.
Because they are nicer,
Yeah,
right? And so I thought and I found out the architect was English. So it's a beautiful cathedral, but the dean there, hello Father Dom, is a great guy, and they have a Latin mass at noon every Sunday. The 62 right. So and that's the one that Mel Gibson goes to.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So is he one of the independent offshoots, or is he?
No, he's a Roman Catholic.
Roman Catholic. Okay.
I think he often goes to the SSPX.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
Because where's he going to find it?
Well, that's true. I mean, because Francis has really kind of stifled it
Yeah.
quite a bit, and Benedict was very open to it. But
Benedict eased it.
I mean, he wanted it.
I mean,
more...
Pope John Paul II initially eased it for many groups. Pope Benedict went further and made it available to any priest.
Well, I'm going to tell you something right now.
Huh.
I know that they keep making changes to the liturgy,
I know.
and I made a declaration as the presiding bishop and patriarch of this church that I wouldn't accept any more changes. So if the Roman, we initially we would go with, if Rome made a change, we'd go with it, and we did a few times.
But you've learned that lesson.
But it's like no more. I've learned the lesson. It's like when they got rid of one God forever and ever, and just changed it to God forever and ever. Now I know that the original Latin,
Yeah.
it's that.
And
I know that.
And in the English Missal, it was translated that way.
It was.
Yeah.
But it's
But
like,
of course, where Rome went really wrong was the translation of the Latin Mass was done in the English Missal.
yeah.
But because that was used by the Church of England, they didn't want to
They didn't want to
authorise
use
that.
it, yeah.
And
They
so
wanted to.
they, and then unfortunately they involved Germans and Americans in translating Latin to English instead of asking the people whose language it is to do it. And so, it's and the current translation.
It's that damn monarchy again.
Well, yeah, the current translation in use, I think, is better than the 70 whatever it was edition.
Yeah.
But Australians hate it.
You're right.
Yeah.
So what is the religious climate? I mean, non-existent or
Pretty much.
pretty much?
We've just had a census.
So what do
Literally
you do? Do you
had a
just sit
census.
around
secular.
fiddling your thumbs at mass? I mean, what do you do?
Oh, look. I mean.
Do people show up?
Yeah, well they do, but I've been trying to.
Underage?
There's a broader question. What's interesting is at mass you've got the sort of baby boomers or older, but interestingly, people who have children who are about between say 6 and 16 are also interested. Now they're actually
There's a resurgence of
yeah,
interest.
and they're
Everyone's trying
two
to-
I
very.
noticed that here too.
So one's the bookend of Christendom,
Right.
Yeah.
and the other one is actually a new thing, and so it's a resurgence of something. So, but I'm asking a broader question in Australia really, which is, I've been thinking about this deeply. So, and it's partly because my wife Jen is interested in this question too. She's an academic. She's the clever one, right? I'm the idiot. So,
Good man.
And so, what you want to ask the question is, I'll start from here. When St. Paul went to the Areopagus to speak to the Athenians, okay, he said, "You're very wise, you Athenians. On the way here, I passed the shrine to an unknown god. Let me tell you who that god is." Okay? It's a very good evangelistic strategy, right?
Sure, yeah.
You're already on the right lines. Let me flesh it out a bit for you. And everything was great until he mentioned the cross, and then they were like, "Whoa, get out of here." So, fine.
I get too real.
But in other words, what you need to find is the kernel of something within a culture to grow from.
Yeah.
Rather than coming and saying, "You're all heathen scum," listen to me, because that's not going to do anything, is it?
No.
And would be wrong. So Now, for Americans,
Plant that mustard seed.
for people in the USA, whether they're blue or red, whatever, north, south, generally speaking, I know there's exceptions. Generally speaking, if you appeal to patriotism, that has a broad appeal in America. You know, to be a patriot is considered a noble thing, right?
Always.
Democrat or Republican.
Always.
Okay? With certain extreme exceptions we can always find, all right?
Yeah.
But you can appeal to a patriotism to call, in other words, to say that's a virtuous thing, so let's rip off that, right?
Yeah.
In England, there's the tradition, because, you know, wherever you live in Britain, there's a 1,000-year-old church down the road, you know, and so even though, you know, you didn't go there since you were baptized, if you're lucky, you've still got a sense that you're on the shoulders of giants, because it's literally all around you, you know. In Australia, they don't have that same type of patriotism as Americans do. No one else, well, very few people do. I'm not saying they're not patriotic. I'm not saying that.
Oh, I know they are, because I've drank with
Yeah,
some Aussies
absolutely.
in the military.
Well, yeah, and military is
Them jokers can drink everybody under the
I
table,
know that.
Germans included.
It's true. So, but it's not the same. You know, there's pockets of it, but it's not ubiquitous.
Right.
And of course, well, there's very few buildings older than 300 years in Australia. And to a
Yeah,
large
they have
extent,
that
the
here.
church represented the colonial masters,
Yeah.
which some people liked and most people didn't. So, when people say Australia's a young country, I know what they mean. Like, on the one hand, it's not. There's people living there for 60,000 years, right?
Yeah.
But I know what they mean in terms of a developed political, cultural experience. It's quite thin, outside of Aboriginal. You know,
It's very similar here because I mean we have
We're still
a
very
but
young
you've got
in the
your
eyes of Europe.
constitution. You had a war, right, for independence.
pains.
You had a war,
Yeah.
a civil war.
well. I think the motivation was different because the entire motivation for even coming here was about freedom,
Yes,
religious freedom,
which it wasn't in Australia.
and it wasn't in
Right.
So, and there was never an established church in Australia. The Church of England was never established in Australia. And so,
That's interesting.
yeah, everyone assumed it would be.
Well, yeah,
So
right. I would have.
So it behaved like the established church because they came from England where it was, but it was never actually established.
Like those prisoners don't need God.
And so, yeah, so it's. But interestingly, the way Australia was settled meant that yes, the first chaplain was an Anglican, of course, Church of England.
Yeah.
But actually, you were allowed to be a Roman Catholic in Australia when you weren't in England.
That's weird.
So because, and it's, you know, on the one hand, it's because the British just didn't care about Australia.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And so, anyway, but I mean, coming back to the thing, it's about what I'm trying to find. What is the thing that's ubiquitous? Yes, there's patriotic. I'm not saying they're not patriotic. It's not the same. No one swears their allegiance to a flag in Britain or Australia, right? It's just not the same.
Right.
I'm a very patriotic Brit, but it's not the same. And so, but there are like real virtues in Australia, like, you know, this sort of, they call it hard yakking, you know, this idea that they work hard. And, you know, like the best of Australian people can cook you dinner and build you a house, whichever one you need. You know, like they're really multi-skilled people. You know, I wouldn't have a clue. I'm hopeless. You know, so there's some real good things there. But I'm trying to. But in terms of the church, there isn't the cultural glue.
See, here I think that puritanical influence has just become integrated into the cultural identity of America.
Well, woke is Puritanism.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's twisted Puritanism.
It is.
I mean,
yeah, I can see that.
but because in Puritanism there's no forgiveness, right? You're either the elect or you're damned,
Yeah.
right? So there's no forgiveness. The same with the woke, right?
Yeah.
With the woke, you either agree with me on absolutely every thing I've just thought of.
Oh, you're ostracized too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like if
You're
you don't
cancelled.
agree with the mentality or the political ideology
Yeah.
that they say is the right one, then you're ostracized. You are shit,
Yeah,
and we cast you out.
which is not the same as old-fashioned liberals and conservatives.
Well, no. I tell people all the time. It's
Not
like
even remotely.
if JFK were alive today, he'd be a Republican
It'd have to be.
because he
Or
would not
nothing.
recognize. He would not recognize what is the Democratic Party
No.
today here in the U.S.
No, that shift happened under LBJ.
Yeah.
It began under LBJ. You know, at the end of his presidency.
Would you say that's where? Would you say that's where the progressive?
No, progressivism starts way before that. Woodrow Wilson.
Well, I'm talking about the modern progressivism as we understand it today. Like,
I think LBJ is where that.
You think that's where it began?
Yeah. The idea that a generation now should pay for the sins of a generation that's nothing to do. You know.
Right.
And you think about it, it's kind of like, it's almost like hereditary laws.
Yeah.
You know what? Because your great grandparents had a farm, you know, and kept slaves. You're responsible for their sins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally unchristian, of course.
Oh yeah.
You're not responsible for another person's sins unless you caused them to do it. And so, I didn't cause my grandfather to do anything, you know. And so, although he was in Britain, so he didn't have slaves. Just to clarify.
You cannot judge the past.
That's right.
No,
And
you can't.
But nor are we're not guilty of what someone else did.
No, we're not. We're responsible
and
for us.
So
No,
you know,
particularly if we didn't agree with it.
Right.
yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know too many people in America that agree with slavery. I don't know.
I don't know anyone.
I
I don't know anyone.
No.
I don't think those people exist.
No. I mean, there might be some backwoods guy somewhere that thinks it was a good idea. I mean, maybe Wildman. He's dead now, you know.
Well,
yeah.
there's
Wildman died.
The unique thing about the transatlantic slave trade, which was evil,
Yeah.
but the unique thing about it compared to all the other slavery in the world is that it ended slavery.
Yeah.
None of the others ended it. It
Yeah.
was the transatlantic slave, and it was, let's be honest, the church. It was William
And where
Wilberforce.
does
It was, you know,
where does slavery still exist?
Everywhere.
not in the West.
Not here.
Well, different kind of slavery.
Well, yeah, depending upon how you look at it,
Human
yeah.
trafficking.
Human trafficking is the worst it's
Yeah.
ever been.
But that's not the
that's-
same.
Yeah, a lot of
That's
people would
not
argue
le-
that the
that's
federal
not
prison
legal.
system
That's
is
criminal
slavery.
activity.
It's criminal.
Slavery was legal.
It was
Yeah.
sanctioned, yes, but
Yeah.
we're not the only state to be guilty of that. We're the only country to be guilty
Yeah.
of
But
that.
no,
No, but what I'm trying to say is that
this country ended.
there are
Correct,
there are
yes.
countries that have maintained the legality
Yes.
of slavery, and they're not Western.
No, they're not.
Well,
you know.
there were more white slaves in the Ottoman Empire than black slaves
That's
in
true.
the colonies.
That's true.
But it's yeah. So look, the whole debate about this is so naive. There needs to be a lot more education done in this area.
Well, people
Um,
need to read the real history, not a soundbite on CNN
Yeah.
or Fox.
Or YouTube.
Or even a textbook.
YouTube.
Or even a
or
textbook,
YouTube
because
right now.
even textbooks
You do your
aren't.
own research.
Yeah.
I mean, it boggles my mind how any human being can subjugate another human being. But you're talking hundreds of years ago, even thousands of years ago, it was
And
almost a necessity in their
You're talking
eyes
about
to
a
get
different
things
system.
done.
Well,
Yeah, completely
and
different system.
also slavery in terms of the Bible, Israelite slavery, if we go back that
Right.
far,
Yeah.
was a very different concept.
Well, even Roman slavery was
Absolutely.
different. I mean, it's a
You know.
completely different thing.
Well, even if you look at Egyptian slavery, I mean, some of them lived actually really good lives.
Very well, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, they weren't free, which is
they weren't
you know,
free, but they some of them were living quite well.
yeah,
And when they earn their freedom, they earn their freedom.
Yes.
yeah. I mean, look, it was not the same principle. I mean,
Sure.
because one could argue, well, a form of modern slavery are people on social welfare in sheltered housing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's far
yeah.
more like Israelite slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
under yoke. There's no
Yeah.
doubt.
I mean,
So-
there's a whole thing going viral right now on TikTok. I mean, I know you old folk aren't on TikTok, but
Us old folks.
I
but
daughter-
there is
my
a
daughter
thing
sent
going
me to
viral. There
actually
is a
pride
thing going
myself in
viral.
Not having an account.
Oh no! God.
I do have an
Yeah.
account. I don't
Yeah.
post anything, but I do.
She shares it though.
Yeah.
You
I give
share
them
a
a
lot.
hard time about
No,
it.
but there's a video going viral of a guy who moved to New York. I haven't seen the original
Go get more
thing.
whiskey. How about that?
That's a good idea.
But he moved to
Yeah.
New York and he's making fun of like the little delicatessens and little
How
convenience
you
stores
doing
and stuff.
on power? Do you need that?
18%.
Okay, let me know when you get to like 10. I'll go get the cord.
All right. And he's making fun of like the little corner
I'm
convenience
just applying
marts.
to Tiffany, by the way. Hi,
Hi,
Tiffany.
Tiff.
Hi. And he's making fun of it, and people are reacting to it and being like, yeah, that's subjugation. That's oppressing the lower income classes, and that's defining neighborhoods and keeping people poor. by not making basic necessities like a
Keeping them
supermarket available. They have to
Yeah, yeah.
rely on convenience stores. It's causing a big stir on TikTok right now.
Oh well. Thank you.
And it's that type of thing. It's that type of manipulation.
I
You
mean,
could
it's not
argue
one
that
for
that's
one,
that's a
but still,
form.
That
That is a
It
form of
It
subjugation.
would.
So pardon us while we take our evening elixir.
Medicine.
Thank you. It is medicine.
Tracy, you want some more?
I gotta tell
A
you, I think I'm
smidge.
in love with this
It's
stuff.
very good, isn't it?
This
It's
is very
wonderful.
good whiskey.
Hats off to the Aussies.
Didn't know they had it in them. I think they make it on Tasmania, which is as close to Scotland as you can
You know,
get.
Tasmania's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Scots always do. You see, it's like they went to New Zealand, and eventually got to the North Island. They went, no, it's not cold enough. It's not miserable enough. It doesn't rain enough.
Well, Men in Kilts
know.
are doing. I know it's not Australia, but Men in
Oh,
next season.
No, so they went further south. Got to go further south. So eventually, they got to a place, and they called it Dunedin. Dunedin on the South Island of New Zealand, where all it does is rain and it's freezing cold. And there they were happy.
I'm sorry, they named it Don't Even.
Dunedin. Yeah, don't even.
Don't even go there.
Don't even bother.
And the same, they went to
Don't
Australia.
even.
Oh no, it's far too warm and pleasant here. There's far too many fish in these seas, so let's go further south. And so they got to Tasmania, where they get the Antarctic winter. But it does make for better Scotch and better raspberries and milk, dairy, and that sort of thing. So there you go.
There's something to be said for that kind of thing,
Yeah.
Such a beautiful color.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes,
Strong.
cheers.
Sponge.
Oh yeah, that smacks you right in the taste buds.
That is a hell of a good whiskey.
That
Yes,
is
many
a-
Scots
I
ended
don't
up
drink- I mean,
in the
I
Appalachians
rarely
as well
drink
and felt
anything
home
other than
there as well.
Scotch.
That is right.
In the summer, I do drink
Appalachia's-
rum.
Yeah.
It's the same mountains. It's the
Yeah.
same mountains as the
Probably
Highlands.
give a
Yep.
taste to before you go.
Well, I only got into
Marina
rum.
says some Scots showed up to
year
the
ago.
Canadian
I think
East
it
Coast and
tastes-
felt right
yeah,
at
right.
What I
home.
have in
Yes.
it's $150 a bottle. It's very good rum, which is a lot for rum.
Well, because for me, rum was always spiced rum, which I wasn't a big fan
It's
of. But
typically inexpensive too,
Yeah.
low quality, because they flavor it.
yeah,
It's
'cause
not
it's
natural.
lousy.
It is, but I mean, a good
Well-
spiced rum is getting those flavors from the soil,
Yeah,
and,
right.
and that gets into the cane.
Yeah.
And there are some rums that are remarkable, but the Caribbean can't fetch the prices that Scotland can. So $150 bottle of rum is the equivalent of probably an $800 or $900 bottle
Yeah.
of Scotch.
Well, I went on a rum tasting because, like I say, I always dismissed it. I was at the Newcastle Club in Newcastle. They had a rum tasting. Tim, if you're watching, Tim's the barman there. He's excellent. Good Catholic boy as well. And he did a rum tasting, and they had like a peated rum. I was like, what?
Really?
Yeah. And
That's interesting.
it was amazing.
I bet. I
Yeah.
can see how those flavors could
Yeah.
go together, because the sweetness can
It's
help
sweet
to
and
balance
bitter,
it out.
yeah, yeah.
it balances
So
out.
it was, I was dumbfounded. So
They're getting into peated bourbons here.
Yep.
really,
That's
Yeah.
starting to happen. Yeah,
yeah, right.
because
I don't mind bourbon.
Yeah, because we need to find other ways to use
I'm
more
glad you
peat,
say
right?
that, because I'll
Look,
tell you,
it's
I
exciting
served,
to see the way the industry's going.
Yeah.
I mean, really some fresh ideas out there.
well, because the laws have loosened up on
Yeah,
that.
so people can
There
kind
was a
of.
time
Yeah, you used
when
to have to go and do it up in the mountains, didn't you? Hide it.
well, that's true.
Well,
but
yeah, a little bit,
but
yeah.
the legal definition of, like, okay, let me
Hold
clarify.
for just a second. Lots of people have said hi to Father Chris.
Hello, good to see you all.
The rules to call something a bourbon is actually quite strict.
Right. Okay.
So typically, what you'll have is Kentucky whiskey.
Kentucky.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
peated.
And
Or
But you won't be able to call it a bourbon,
Right.
because it will be treated differently. Like, for example, Scotch you can age in a cognac barrel, you can age in a
yeah.
sherry barrel. Only American oak with bourbon.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
You can age a Kentucky whiskey
Yeah.
in sherry cask, but you
See-
can't call it bourbon.
This is aged in American oak.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? New oak, right?
Yes.
It's a new barrel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So
see,
well done.
bourbon can only be
That's
new
the rule.
barrel, which
Yeah.
is why Scotland takes all our barrels,
Yeah, of course.
because they're like, send them to us.
Well, they
Say-
take your barrels and they take the port barrels from Portugal.
But we can only use the new ones, so we have to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
them from scratch, and then put our bourbon in it, and then we can ship it off to whoever wants it.
And then they can set fire to the PT.
And do it 3 times. I mean, you can
So
get a good barrel. You can use that for like 60 years.
Oh yeah.
Pete says that he discovered a distillery this past weekend in Vermont that makes a maple cream bourbon.
I'm in.
Man.
It's called
I'm in.
It's called Smuggler's Notch Distillery.
That sounds a bit sweet
Smuggler's
for me,
Knot.
but
It does sound sweet, but
I have
I'd
a
try
sweet
it.
tooth, though.
I know
That's
you'd
why
love
I
it.
like
I know.
it.
Jamie
And I
would
love a
love
good cream whiskey.
I would gobble that up.
Jamie, you'd love it.
Yes.
Because
sounds
you're all about the sweet.
right up my alley.
She likes sweet things.
We got a
That's
little
what she
Five
likes
Farms
from.
in there.
We
You
do
got
have
a
some
little Five Farms.
We do.
Ooh.
That's an Irish whiskey that's made with happy cows.
Yeah.
And that's what they literally call
I had a
them,
bottle of
happy
that not too
cows.
long
In
ago.
other words, these cows are treated like they are in India. Sacred.
yeah.
They are. And they get the cream, they get the milk, they get the cream from it,
Yeah.
and they produce an Irish whiskey. I'm sorry, an Irish cream with it,
Oh, okay. Like
and it's fantastic. I mean, it's probably the best Irish cream. I mean, much better than Bailey's.
Well, Bailey's is just like,
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
So commercialized now. Yeah.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah, and I say that as an Anglo-Irishman.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
But it's like Guinness isn't the best stout. I
That's
like
true.
Guinness.
But
love Guinness,
I will tell you
but it's
though,
not the best stout.
Samuel Smith is one of the
Oh,
best
Sam
sales.
Smith
Oh,
is. Oh
I
my
can't believe
goodness.
You just said that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Nut brown
that's all
ale?
we drink.
Oh, yeah.
That's all we drink when I drink beer. That's all I drink.
Yeah.
That's it.
Their chocolate, is it a chocolate
Chocolate stout.
Yeah.
That's my
Lord
favorite.
almighty.
They have a great cider
Do you know
too.
the story of that brewery?
I don't know much about it. I just know I like
We
it.
got-
I cannot believe I'm in Georgia talking about Sam Smith.
Oh, Sam Smith's very popular.
Oh yeah.
here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have it
I
everywhere.
can't believe it.
Yeah, there's
you go
a
to
there's a
Trader
pub
Joe's,
downtown
you
that
get it.
all they have is Sam
That
Smith.
brown is really good.
Okay, well, I'll tell you the story.
They have a great cider.
Yeah.
It's one of the
Yeah,
best ciders I've ever
I
What,
had.
have cider.
so
And a
okay.
pear cider.
So have you heard of John Smith's bitter?
Yeah.
Yeah, very famous.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
it's all over the world. It's Coca-Cola, right?
Yeah, yeah.
John Smith and Sam Smith were brothers,
Of course they were. They're
and
Smiths.
they
Yeah, that's how that
They're
works.
related.
and they had a brewery, okay, at Tadcaster in Yorkshire, and
Well, that sounds wonderful.
John
Marina.
Smith wanted to go, corporate, and this is a long time ago. Wanted to go mass produce, right, and just make money. And Sam Smith wanted to make good beer,
Good
and they
man.
fell out. They literally fell out. But because they jointly
That's worth
owned the
falling
land,
out for.
They split the land, and so even today, one half is the John Smith Brewery, which is enormous, and the other half is Sam Smith.
Interesting.
Oh, fascinating. I did
in
not know this.
And in England, there are Sam Smith pubs in England,
Yeah, yeah.
but they have very strict rules because Sam Smith was all about the beer. So they're not allowed
So
to have entertainment in the pub. They can't have bands or anything like that.
Really?
Yeah, and,
What type of pub?
and almost
I'm in.
I'm in.
almost all of them were in the north of England because Yorkshire's in the north. So I'm from Lancashire, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
grew up in Cheshire. So my local pub, the Cheshire Midland in Hale, beautiful pub.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Hello.
Is a Sam Smith's pub, and it's always the cheapest beer around.
Nice.
Because the idea was it was for working people, cheap beer, well made.
Oh yes.
And they only sell their own brand of beer, and they
Now,
make
here it's not cheap, but it's damn good.
it's
Yeah.
really good. So,
Yeah.
well, when I
pay
was
for it, but-
when I was underage drinking in the Cheshire Midland,
No, no, you never did that.
No.
it was.
I've been drinking since I was 13.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, just to clarify, I was there with my dad and my granddad.
Oh, nice.
It was
Good
one-
family morals.
It was £1.
Rite of passage.
It was £1.21 a pint.
Wow.
Imperial pint. That's bigger than a.
Yeah, yeah.
It is, yeah, it is.
So 24 ounces, right?
Mhm.
And so
I've got Imperial pint glasses for that reason.
it's the only it's the only sensible measure of beer.
That's right.
So yeah, £1.21 a pint, and I think
Yeah.
even now it's only like it'd be under £2 a pint, whereas
See,
in
now
most
I'm-
beer is
I'm
like
craving a
£5
Sam
a
Smith
pint.
now. I haven't had beer in a long time.
Oof.
Well,
I love Sam
doing
Smith.
Your
I'm doing
carnivore.
that low, no carb. Yeah, let me tell y'all something about the carnivore diet. It works.
Oh yeah.
Now, let me ask you this.
Paula says, not my 13-year-old hearing all that.
Just say it.
You didn't hear it. You didn't hear it
Hey,
from
let
us.
me explain a little bit. Back in the 1980s, okay, they didn't give a shit if you drank as long as an adult bought it for you.
Right.
They didn't question it. So if you went into a pub or if you went into like a restaurant and the head of the table ordered drinks for everybody and it went to the 13-year-old, no one had It was like, well,
That
it's the adult buying.
That was true in England and Wales.
That's the way it should be, in my opinion.
The legal age to enter a public bar.
Paula
in
says
England
now
and
he
Wales-
really wants to be like Bishop.
But the legal age to enter a public bar in England is 13.
Wow.
You can't drink
That's
at 13.
awesome, Marina.
But if you're at a table, and once you're you can drink at 18 everywhere in Britain, right? Once you're 16, you can drink beer or wine in a bar as long as you're eating food.
So you take away the stigma of it,
Yeah.
and it becomes
And the
no
mystique.
big deal,
Yeah.
right?
That's the thing. When you turn it
Yeah,
into...
because you know the Brits are
when
just
you turn
model
it into
citizens when
taboo.
it comes
It
to
doesn't
drinking.
matter if
Yeah.
it's... It doesn't matter if it's
Model.
drinking, smoking, drugs, sex. If you turn it into taboo, you make it more desirable and it becomes a social problem.
Right.
If you handle it strategically and rationally,
Well,
you won't have those kinds of
It's
problems.
the same way with firearms.
When you...
Absolutely.
It is with firearms.
Very
You're
similar
right. It's the same
thing.
thing. It's been that. Well, I mean, I guess I live by the everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yeah.
That is my. I mean, if I had to create an axiom that defines my life, that's the axiom.
Oh, look. Let's be Aristotelian about it. So, law, the principle of law at all. Yeah, I think Aristotle said that. And the law's an ass, right? Because those that won't keep the law ignore the law,
Correct.
and those that will keep the law don't need the law.
That's
Correct.
true.
There is, this is the kind of libertarian thing, is to say, well,
That's
actually,
the thing with gun control.
yeah,
When they start saying that, we got a gun problem, people are getting shot, get these mass shootings and everything, we need to restrict gun access. It's like all you're restricting are law-abiding citizens.
Yeah.
The criminals don't give a damn about your laws.
So
26 years of law enforcement, people, trust me, the criminals give a good God bless about.
yeah.
So what are you
laws.
doing with these restrictions? What you're doing is making the law-abiding citizens less capable of protecting themselves.
Yeah.
That's
Correct.
all you do. So and that's what
It
you're
happened,
talking about.
happened in England.
You're at almost 10%.
A cord so that we don't lose power.
I mean, in England, they pretty much ban.
I mean, if people are enjoying the conversation, I guess we can keep going.
Well, we'll
I
keep
mean,
going.
what say you?
Well, they can tell us where they want us to go.
Right.
Yeah, they can ask
Even if it's
questions.
to hell, right? You can say, just go to hell and we'll close it up.
No one's going anywhere, I guarantee that.
We're not going to hell. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else.
Yeah, I guess that's what boggles the mind about me. I'm a
They're
staunch,
like, please keep going.
I'm a staunch libertarian, and my whole thing is we are handing away our rights because we want someone to take care of our problems for us, and that's not what the government is for.
You'll end up in a situation like Australia, where after there was a mass murder, and a very popular conservative prime minister, the most popular probably, and a great guy, John Howard, a very good person, but he said, oh, we've got to cancel the guns, and overwhelmingly Australians still support that. Okay, so they handed in their guns. We're subject to very strict restrictions. The fact that I have a gun license in New South Wales should tell you how squeaky clean I am, because otherwise I would not have one. I'm not against some restrictions, but
It lays a foundation for tyranny.
Well, it
because
does.
now you can be prosecuted for stuff you put on social media.
it's more
in
than
the
that.
UK and Australia.
It's more than that. I mean, at least in the UK,
Where does it stop?
the government don't walk around with firearms, right? In Australia, the police are armed, and the population aren't. And that says something, that a culture is happy for that situation. I think it was almost certainly Jefferson said, when a government's afraid of the people, that's democracy. When the people are afraid of the government, that's tyranny.
Yeah.
And an unarmed population is vulnerable to tyranny because the government have got guns. And we're both former police officers, right?
Yes.
But we know that just
retired.
wearing a uniform shirt doesn't somehow magically make you
Nope.
more responsible with a firearm than anybody else.
Nope.
So
There's a lot of training involved, a lot of respect, a lot of
Yeah.
respect for law, and you must understand that you are there to protect the citizens,
Yeah.
not prosecute the citizens.
that's right.
Unfortunately, one of the reasons I left after 26 years is because the culture is shifting
There's been a shift.
into a we're going to go out and try to find a reason to arrest people.
Absolutely.
And that's absolutely not what law enforcement is about.
Well, it's against Peel's.
Yes, Robert Peel.
Yeah, Robert Peel was the English Home Secretary that invented
And that's
policing.
what we based our whole criminal
Yeah.
system on, was the English common law.
So arrest should be a last resort, for example.
Right.
A little higher over here. I'm gonna put
And
it-
we used to have our own discretion on a lot of things. But that has since changed. Now they have a lot of these zero tolerance
Well,
policies.
they ebb away at it.
Right.
I think
And
so.
that's not
Did you feel?
what being
It
a
went
police
up.
officer's about.
Did you feel the little like it vibrate when you plugged it in? It's on.
It's going up. I didn't feel vibrate, but it's going up.
There you go, we're plugged in.
Yeah, we plugged it in. 'Cause we're
In for the long haul.
We're back in the Matrix.
They said to keep going.
Hey, look. I know that
comes down
our
to
audience from Vestiges has
personal
been begging
responsibility.
for the show to come back,
Yeah.
and until my library is operational, I won't find the equipment. So we don't have.
I should also say in your defence, and to ward off some complaints, that I did say let's make it a surprise, me coming in. Partly because you never know when
yeah.
the restrictions would change.
Yeah.
But also I just wanted to be a surprise. So if anyone says, why don't you let us know? We want to watch it. Well,
Surprise!
Because I said I wanted to be a surprise.
Well, and it's archived forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if someone misses it, they can watch the replay.
And I'm here tomorrow too.
That's true. We are here to
Lots of
let's make that
shenanigans
clear
tomorrow.
for everybody who might be catching it on replay. We will do this again tomorrow. We'll stream again.
I'm staying tonight and tomorrow night.
We'll have more cigars, more whiskey, and we're going to Fogo, right? Unless you want somewhere else.
No, that sounds
Okay.
great to me.
I mean, it's one of the best.
But we are going shooting too.
We're certainly going to
We're gonna
try. Now there are no cameras or cell phones allowed to be filming in the
Right.
on the range itself, but I'm sure we could,
Find a way.
maybe get a couple of shots.
Well, we can
if
go to
need
Governor's Club. They don't care. I mean, we've taken pictures there,
it.
and I've got a membership.
That may be
But that's
something
I agree,
to
have to go to
Pete.
Kennesaw.
Pete says
Bring it
gun
back.
ownership isn't the problem, but the mentality of gun use and ownership is.
I think guns are glorified into something beyond what they are.
It's
Right, they're a
just
tool.
Like,
They're a
just
tool.
like anything else.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking yesterday how we were like it's the equivalent of glorifying the lock on your door. I have a Schlog K4765. Oh my
only
gosh, I
safe
can't
is
believe
a
you
safe
have that. Like,
I do have to say, as an outsider,
Well, I'm sure it's
nobody
legal.
has the same relationship with guns as Americans.
You're damn right.
Yeah, like
we
this-
sleep with them. I
in-
mean,
in
for goodness
Switzerland,
sake.
every
Look,
man has got a
don't bring
gun.
my personal habits into
But
this.
it's not the same.
I mean, to your
I
point,
mean, yes, there may or may not be a gun under my
my
pillow.
bed's right. My bedroom's right over there, right?
You don't cuddle it though.
If you went inside my bedside, there is a fully loaded one in the chamber,
Ready to go.
ready to go. If somebody comes into this house, they're dead before they even see me. They'll never even know it's coming. I mean, I shoot first and ask questions later.
Hope to never
I
use
figure
it,
I'll
though.
deal with the ramifications
don't.
after the
Hope
fact.
to never use it.
But in
Not so
Georgia,
close.
and Amy, I mean Jamie can back me up on this. In Georgia, if somebody's in your house,
Castle
you're
doctrine.
pretty much protected. I mean, you just don't want to shoot them out of your house.
No.
Then you have more problems.
I mean,
You shoot him in the front yard,
I
drag
have
him
to say,
inside.
like, in
Drag
England,
them in.
No,
That's it.
no.
in England,
We are being sarcastic.
Of course.
Just so everybody knows, I am very
Actually,
sarcastic.
It's a
how you
funny.
like
Ha
this
ha
statement.
ha.
Actually, let me tell a funny story about this. You'll get a kick out of it as a non-American, right? When
Agree, Marina.
when we got our when we purchased our first, Tracy's mom said, "Let's all go do a gun safety class just because it's
Up and
probably a
up.
good idea."
I agree.
So
Up
we
and up.
went. We signed. She signed us up, and we
Yeah.
went. Okay, and it was a retired cop
Yeah.
who conducted the class, and he went over everything and did all the things that you're supposed to do, and then he started talking about situations, like scenarios, and he said, like, okay, so let's say you look out your window into your driveway and you see someone breaking into your car. You cannot go out there with your gun and shoot that person for breaking into your car.
Yeah.
No, it's a
Your
little
gun is
excessive.
not. Your car
Right.
is not your property at that
But
point.
if they're banging down, if they kick open your door and come raging in, you have every right to shoot them. And he says, not only that, make sure that you empty your magazine on them so that there's no chance that they can fight you in court later. Because then you can get into problems with being excessive force. But if they're dead, then there's no real challenge to it. Then he said this is the funny thing. And he says, just what Jamie just said. He's like, and if you misjudge where they were standing and they were outside, drag them in. And he was not kidding. He was not saying this in a funny way, because
no, Pete, you're fine.
People in the back of the class were laughing. He goes, oh, no.
Thank you for the discussion.
Drag him in. You know, but that's Georgia. It's different. It's different. In California, England, New York, Illinois, you can't do that. Illinois, you can't do that.
In England, there was a mass overreaction.
States' rights.
There was a mass overreaction in England when there was a farmer that was prosecuted for shooting a burglar.
Yeah.
And he was found guilty and he was put in jail. And everyone said, oh, we're not allowed to do it. Yes, but, okay. So, oh, we're not allowed to defend our houses. That's not true. He's actually the only recorded case of anyone being prosecuted for having killed or injured a burglar.
Really?
Right? And when you know the full facts of the story, it has a slightly different hue to it. So, this guy, I mean, he was tortured, this poor old bloke. I mean, I'm not defending the burglar here, right?
Right.
And he was burgled something like 20 times by the same family. I'm being careful.
So this is a domestic situation.
Well, they were travellers.
I got you. I know what you're saying.
They were travellers.
Right.
So and he was burgled lots of times, and he snapped. Right, he lost, and who could blame him, right?
Yeah.
But the reason that he was prosecuted was he had an illegal shotgun, because in England and Wales you're only allowed a shotgun that's double-barreled. You can't have a magazine.
It's got to be a side-by-side or an over-under?
It can be either, but it can't have a magazine.
Okay.
So, in other words, 2 shots at a time. Okay.
So no.
So a musket.
Automatic.
You can't. Not a shotgun. No. So it was an illegal firearm in the first. So it's no longer categorised as a shotgun, because shotguns have different legislation in England.
Yeah.
It's far more liberal because, of course, everyone in the House of Lords shoots pheasant on their land, so they want to make the gun laws very easy for them to shoot their pheasant.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
they're peasants.
They're pheasants.
Bit of a slip there.
Pheasant's very nice. But I'm glad that you clarified that. And so.
I love pheasant, by the way.
I do too. It's amazing.
It's much better than chicken.
Absolutely. It used to be peasant food. Ironically,
goose.
Lobster.
Yeah, that's right.
Lobster was what they fed criminals because they saw it as like basically insects.
Yeah, that's right.
Insects.
Sea insects.
So give it to the criminal.
Yeah, right.
And now, like what? I mean,
it's like last meal stuff.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But
it is.
So anyway, so he had an illegal shotgun, and he slept with it in his bed, waiting. And then, when he shot the guy, and I'm not defending the burglar, he's a burglar. He shot him in the back.
Okay.
Oh.
Running away.
So it's almost premeditated.
So, well, that's right, and that was the case.
That would be a problem here too, I think.
And it should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
Now, much as I've got sympathy for the bloke,
being
in my
burgled.
opinion, the justice system failed him.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
So, now what happened was he was prosecuted, and of course the right-wing media, you can't defend your own house. That's actually not true. And it turns out that he's the only person ever prosecuted in England and Wales for defending his house. So, although castle doctrine, I know it means something in America specific, really in England you can defend your property. But the problem is,
can't in South Africa though.
Oh gosh, that's a train wreck.
Canada either anymore.
South Africa.
That's a train wreck.
You can't. I mean, basically, you can't. You can own it. You can have a gun with certain restrictions, but you can never use it.
Yeah.
If you use it, even in a scenario where there's a and you kill the intruder, you are charged with murder.
It will take South Africa another 100 years or more
to get out of that.
To deal with the legacy of apartheid.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So South Africa is a special case on this planet. People talk about the Jim Crow laws, which were evil and terrible.
Oh yes.
But compared
Absolutely.
to apartheid,
Wow.
were mild, and that's not to say that they were mild.
Yeah.
So it's a very complicated situation in South Africa.
It is. Yeah, that's true.
And praise God, none of us live there. But
I don't think I can handle it. I mean,
I think it's it used to be a very difficult place for a black person to live. It's now a very difficult place for a white person to live.
it just keeps going back and forth.
Yeah. So, you know, and what happened in Zimbabwe was, you know, they took all the land off the white farmers because they stole it. That was the narrative. And the breadbasket of Africa now is starving. So, you know, it's a mess. And you can't say there's virtue anywhere. you know? So, because the pre-existing situation was not virtuous either. So, it's that's intransigent. But it is interesting. Like, there's firearms present in lots of other countries in the world: Germany, Switzerland, Canada.
Switzerland's a good
Norway.
example. They don't have mass shootings, and
No.
they're doing just fine.
Well, in Switzerland, every man between the ages of 18 and 65 has to have a firearm.
Why can't they? Well, there's a county here.
I know. I've read
a
up on
city
it.
actually.
Yeah.
A city.
City,
Kennesaw. It's on the books that
It's on the
any
books,
any
yes.
resident of Kennesaw has to have a firearm. Now they don't enforce
Homeowner.
it.
It's homeowner.
Homeowner. You're right. Homeowner. They don't enforce it.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
there.
on the books. But you know, the reality is, no one wants to talk about the real elephant in the room, which is mental illness and
Yes.
the lack of
I know.
care.
That's exactly
Yes.
the issue.
Yes.
They don't want. No one wants to spend money
Yes.
on the
Well,
mental health.
Well, because
problem.
that's a bigger problem.
It is.
Well,
That-
they
that
wanna
opens
use
up
the
a
gun-
whole
they
can of
wanna
worms.
use the guns
To
as the
address.
scapegoat
Yes.
for
Because
the
that
real
means we
issue.
have to address our healthcare
When
situation.
they closed down all the mental health institutions in the
Yeah.
80s
Disaster.
and 90s, it was a
Restricting
disaster.
gun access is
Us
cheap.
police officers became
Healing mentally ill people, very
Yeah.
expensive.
the people that had to deal with it, and we
Because they don't have
just not equipped.
solutions. I became a priest because, well, I mean,
Well,
you got to talk about.
You had no choice.
you got-
Like,
I know.
God smacked you back down,
Well, that's true. You gotta-
knocked your ass
It depends
out.
on
ain't that the truth?
Isn't that true?
Pow.
That's true.
And then pow pow.
But you got to talk about, when I talk about this, I have to talk about which iteration are we talking about? Because the first time it was traditional.
Right.
Okay, so when I discovered my vocation in my youth, that was the normal way. Then I left, became Buddhist for 10 years, right? And then came back. Okay, what made me come back, because by that time, in my Buddhist years, I left religious education and got my degree in psychology, because I could never conceive of just making money off of the capitalist system. Not that I have any problem with capitalism, but I always felt like I needed to do more than just make money.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to help people.
Yeah, I understand.
And if I couldn't do it as a minister,
I think a lot of people.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I went into a field that I thought was help. So I went into education. I went into psychology. But what I did not realize at the time, because when you're an undergrad, and someone asked me about how do you deal with, I'm going to go a bit on a tangent. So help me come back to where I was. He asked me about, was it Brandon on the Nicolay Network? He asked me, what do you do when someone is talking about ghosts and
Oh,
a
I
Bible
answered
thumper
it too,
comes
yeah.
forward and says, oh, there are no ghosts, it's all demons pretending to be dead people. Because you go to heaven or hell, there's no roaming around. And so, how do you deal with that with Scripture? And I said, well, I start by telling them that textbook theory is never quite applicable to the practical reality that you experience when you're actually out there in the field.
That's the quote attributed to Churchill, isn't it? You know, that no matter how beautiful the plan, it occasionally
never quite
pays
there.
to look at the results.
So this is true in religion as well as it is in psychology. So when you're an undergrad in psychology, you think, my God, we're so advanced.
Yeah.
We can cure everything.
No.
And then you get into the actual field and you realize that these medications do squat shit except make it easier for normal people to live with the sick people.
Yeah.
By desensitizing them.
That's not nothing.
Well, no.
It's not a cure, I know.
But it's not a cure.
No, I know.
And it really is pacification. It's not healing.
It's numbing.
And if you're in the medical field, you should look at yourself as a healer, not as a maintainer. And that's where I found
That's where we went.
What's that?
As a society in the West.
That's true.
Maintain. We're not
maintain.
curing anything.
And so I said to myself, I can't do this any longer. And this was the case that did it for me. I was working. I won't mention the organization because I don't want to call them out. But I was working in Florida. I'm gonna sneeze. I was working in Florida, and I had a case that was assigned to me. The diagnosis officially, it was a young black. He was actually Haitian. A lot of Haitians in Florida, and he was a young, like 16, 17-year-old kid, and he was assigned to me,
just a baby,
because he came to me with a diagnosis of schizoaffective. For students, this sounds like a nice, sophisticated diagnosis. To people that are working in the field at the professional level, you realize it's a bullshit diagnosis to get.
We don't know what's wrong.
We don't know what the hell's going on.
We don't know what's going on,
this.
and we need something that the government will recognize to get you the cheapest medication we can for free, which is Haldol.
And to pay us.
Now, Haldol, which is what he was being given because he had no money.
That's a trade name. What's the drug? I can look it up.
It's bad.
It basically, when you use it for too long, you develop a condition called tardive dyskinesia, which is, well, I think they're starting to treat it, but at the time it wasn't treated. Muscle control in your mouth, and then your tongue hangs out like a dog. It's awful, and it's degenerative.
Yeah, right.
It's neurological damage over time, and they were giving this to a 16-year-old kid.
Poison.
It's poison.
Yeah.
All right, but it's considered an antipsychotic.
Haloperidol.
What is it?
Haloperidol.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but the brand is Halo, and so they were giving him this. He was already starting to develop the beginning symptoms of tardive dyskinesia at 16, 17 years old. So you know what his future was like. But he was assigned to me, wonderfully sweet kid. I couldn't find anything wrong with him outside of maybe a mild learning disability, which was probably culturally produced. In other words, he didn't have the grasp of American function at a level that would be successful.
I don't think I do either.
Well, most people, I don't think most people do. I mean, honestly,
I don't know.
The standard is so damn high.
Well, when I asked at the hotel whether gave me the key card, I said, "Do you need it for the lift?" And she looked at me like I was sleeping. and then my stepdaughter said, "You mean elevator?" I went, "Oh yeah."
Just tell them it's too dark. I need the torch. They won't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I'm on the wrong schedule.
So basically, so here's his story. Okay, after I got into his case file, I realized, well, how did he end up with me? I wanted to know that. So essentially, this is how he ended up with us. Because what our facility was a facility for people the police picked up who the judge ordered for psychiatric evaluation because they were not conducting willful criminal acts. They were being picked up because they were disorderly or something was going on. So this is what happened. When he gets, when this basically a child, he was a minor.
He's a kid. Yeah,
he's a kid. Yeah. When he gets frightened, he gets loud and he starts waving his arms.
It's almost like an
right.
autistic.
That's like
kind of autistic, but not. I don't think he was autistic, but he had that kind of thing going on. And so he was outside. Somebody was picking on him. He got loud and started getting, and he was holding a stick that he was playing with. And so the cops were called, and the cops came down, and you don't mess with Florida cops, okay? Because they gotta axe the grind with everybody. And I'm gonna say this publicly. I don't give a damn. You guys in Florida, you need to get your
do better.
Okay,
do better.
Particularly the sheriff's departments in Florida. They need some support to help them to learn how to deal with problems like this, because this is what ended up happening. Cops were called. He's getting frightened. He starts waving the stick around and starts running into his house. They shoot him right in the back through his stomach. Goes right through the back, through the stomach. Of course, he's down on the ground. They take him to the hospital. Kid has no insurance, no money. Okay, so what do you think they did to him? They patched him up in
Bare
a way
minimum.
that all they did, because his intestinal cavity was ruptured.
Oof.
They just pulled the skin over the intestines and just left them hanging there. So when he took his shirt off, you could see
Yeah.
the intestines hanging out.
That's
I mean, not exposed, but under the skin because
Thin
the
layer of
cavity
skin
was
over
ruptured
it.
and they never
Right.
healed it. So so he couldn't eat properly anymore.
No.
Okay, and
Or move properly.
or move
Yeah.
properly, but he was picked up and sent to us because of that incident with the cops. Okay, so I take him to his. I was his. I handled his. I was called an intensive case manager. So what I was the liaison between he and his family and his. I would accompany him to his psychiatric sessions because he didn't fully understand what was going on, and so I would help to sit down with them, explain this is what they want to do, and of course they just pumped him full of Haldol, and so I'm saying I eventually said, go back and sit down. I'm going to talk to your doctor privately, and so I sat down with the psychiatrist and I said, this kid does not have schizoaffective disorder, which is by definition a combination of a psychotic variation mixed with usually bipolar or something like that, right? Kind of almost like a psychotic episode not otherwise specified.
Yeah.
Not schizophrenia, but psychotic features of behavior, which I saw none. The kid, he didn't talk to himself, he didn't have hallucinations, he didn't have auditory, visual, nothing like that. And so I talked to the doctor, I said, why are we pumping this kid full of antipsychotics, a dangerous one at that, when really all I see here is potentially a learning disability, which might actually just be a cultural misunderstanding. Okay? This is doing serious harm to him. And the doctor said to me, you need to go back to your office and learn your place. And so, you know what I told that doctor? I said, fuck you. And I said it just like that. Yeah. And I went back to my supervisor and I said, I can no longer do this job. You people are reprehensible. And I said, you call yourselves healers? You see this place as a medical facility? You are a disgrace to the medical profession. And I said, I cannot be party to this. And that's when I realized I needed to go back to the priesthood. Yeah. But I didn't know what to do at that point because now I'm a Buddhist. I got married by a Buddhist nun in a Buddhist temple. It's like, how do I return? How do I get myself back? But I knew years before I was able to figure out what I needed to do and achieve where I'm at now. But that was it. I realized, Father, that the profession of psychology is just bullshit. They don't have any cures. All they want to do is maintain so that they don't have criminal behavior.
Well,
they don't have cops picking them up.
They've created an industry for themselves, you know.
And they make good money doing it.
Yeah, and you can't expect turkeys to vote for Christmas, you know. So it's yeah. I look at.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
We got to this from the kind of the mass shooting sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the most recent one is of someone for whom the police have been called to that house multiple times.
That's almost every mass shooter.
And yet he passed a background check. So people want universal background checks. This guy passed a background check. Yeah. He shouldn't have passed a background check.
No, he should have been adjudicated mentally deficient,
exactly.
which would have.
But what's happened is, in tandem with what you were just saying, the police are now, oh, it's a medical problem. He's a poor boy. He's psychologically scarred. Which to get the boy before the beak.
Yes.
If that does that work in this country?
I mean, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Before the judge or the magistrate.
Yeah.
To say, yeah, there's an issue here. Therefore, if there's a background check, guess what? The answer's no. You know, and so background checks. If that's what people think the answer is, this guy passed a background check.
Well, I mean, if you've never committed a crime before, you're going to pass.
Correct.
So you could be a criminal mind, and
that's right.
And it might be in your 30s or 40s before you do something.
Yeah.
I mean, so any criminal has to have their first crime, and it could be any time.
That's right.
So obviously, everyone can pass a background check at some point in their life, no matter how criminal they are.
I also think there's a decent argument for setting an age limit. I do think there is.
I could see that. I could see that.
We all know that, apologies to any of our young audience, but people under 30 don't know much, really.
The young are getting younger.
Adolescence is getting longer and longer, right?
Yeah.
They stay at home, anyway. But
Childhood is longer.
Childhood is longer. So, it used to be 21, then it went down to 18.
But see, that's the problem, though, because it's like I have this conversation with Jamie a lot. It's trying to come up with a standard that everyone fits into, and that doesn't work.
It doesn't. Well,
it's like alcohol.
Doesn't exist.
Here in most states, most states in the U.S., it's what 0.8.
0.08.
0.08.
Yeah, but you can do 0.04 if you can prove less safe. But yeah, 0.08.
0.08.
0.08.
Yeah, that's usually above that. You're now over the limit, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now, at 0.09, I function better than when I'm completely sober. I just do. And I probably, and not that I do, but I could probably drive more efficiently under a slight amount of alcohol than I do when I'm completely sober. You know why? Because when I'm sober, my mind, things that are on my mind. When I have a dram, I don't think about those things. I focus on whatever the task is at hand. So I can actually function better. Now that's not true for everybody. I know people who can drink to 0.06 and be completely like on the floor drunk, smashed. So it's like, how do you come up with an age?
It's always the case where you have to draw a line.
Yeah, but where do you
those
draw?
lines
How do you
are,
do
I
it?
mean, a case of drawing, just to kind of lighten things up for our audience.
Yeah, we've had a few people be like, I'm out.
We have to draw a line somewhere. I told these guys, this is an absolutely true story. I won't name names. But in New South Wales, you're not allowed to smoke within 4 meters of a building, okay? Like a public building or a pub or anything like that. And you think, well, 4 meters is
it's 14 feet, right? Well, half is a meter. I think 3.5 feet's a meter, so about 14 feet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that'd be right.
Yeah.
So, but you think, 4 meters, that's, even by metric standards, that's not a very metric number, is it? You'd think it'd be 5, right? Or 10. And so you think, why is it 4? I can tell you why it's 4, and I won't name names.
It's about 13 feet.
13 feet.
Yeah, but I won't name names. But the reason it's 4 meters is an MP in the New South Wales Parliament is a smoker. And he was out smoking his cigarette outside, because you have to smoke outside, by the statue of St Thomas More. Now, you've got the chamber, there's a side door, and a courtyard, and then Macquarie Street, which is public. And right at the end of the courtyard is St Thomas More. So you're still within the security of Parliament, but you're as far as you can get from the chamber. And they were about to pass the legislation. It said 5 meters, because 5's a round number.
Yeah.
And he thought, he's an engineer, okay? Most politicians are lawyers, that's the problem, right? But he's an engineer.
That is the problem.
So he thinks differently to lawyers, and he thought, hang on a minute. How far away is the building from where I'm stood? And it was only 4 meters away. And that's why it's 4 meters in New South Wales.
Because he changed it.
Because someone's got to draw a line.
For his own
there's a word for that. It's called hypocrisy.
No, I don't think it is. I think in fairness, it's called pragmatism.
Well, that's true.
But
you can say that.
I mean, he would have said there shouldn't be a limit, right? He's a smoker.
Think so, yeah.
But if there's going to be a limit, well, he might as well be able to smoke.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm good.
And at least he lowered it. He didn't increase it, So
I mean, in the U.S., we deal with that with smoking sections. Most restaurants do not allow it anymore.
No.
Casinos still do. You'll see a lot of smoking indoors in Vegas.
Well, the law typically is as long as a minor is not present.
That's true.
It was
It's
banned
to
in the
protect
UK
kids.
entirely in any public.
But bars where it's over 21, you will have smoking bars here.
No, they're not allowed in Britain, which is silly. Yeah. If you want to have a smoking bar in Britain, why not? But you can't.
I mean, if you're not, if
not
people
even
want to
no
willfully
cigar
go
lounges
there.
or anything? Wow.
See, okay, so since it's a novelty for you, when you go to Vegas, I need you to do something for me.
Monte
Like,
Cristo.
I want you to go to Caesar's Palace and go to Monte Cristo Bar.
Oh yeah.
Get the smoked old fashioned and have a good cigar.
There you go.
You won't get tatuajes.
No.
Well, they might have one.
They got some good Monte Cristos.
But they have some good Monte Cristos.
Yeah, Monte Cristos. Yeah.
Not the Cubans, of course, but I mean they're good ones.
All right, you were throwing around names earlier. I'm going to pull up a name.
Uh-oh.
Let me see. So, since we're doing shout-outs, Sherry. If Sherry is still at Monte Cristo, definitely look for her. She was
yeah.
the woman who went and found honey for my hot toddy that time. Remember
I
that?
above and
I gave
beyond.
her,
Oh, yeah.
I gave her $100 tip, and she gave me the biggest hug I've
Yeah.
ever gotten from the
Yeah,
from the
I
summer.
was under the weather. This was several trips ago. I was under the weather.
Yeah, you were. You weren't.
And
feeling well.
my throat was sore, and I was desperate for a hot toddy. And she immediately was like, "I don't think we have honey at our bar."
ran to the
And I said, "Well,
restaurant
sugar's fine."
down
I said,
down
"Sugar's
the
fine. Sugar's fine." She went and found honey in
at
one
a
of the
restaurant.
restaurants
And
in
another
the
part of
casino.
the casino came back and got her the hot toddy. The
Yeah,
bartender
the
made
proper
it
hot
with-
toddy.
And so I went
That
up to
magic.
her and I gave her $100 tip, and she gave me a big hug. She said, "I've never gotten $100 before." I said,
Which
"Well,
is hard to believe. In Vegas, you would
No.
Yeah,
think
you would think
You would
that.
think.
high
Yeah.
rollers and everything
you
go
would
over there,
think."
but
But she said, "I've never got," and she said to me, I said, "Look," I said, "you went above and beyond going to find my wife honey, because you know there's." Well, these days I've learned to better. Like COVID did a good thing for me. I was never too religious about my vitamin intake. I would take my
Yeah.
vitamin C. I did like emergency and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I didn't really know what the actual values were for what you need
I
for.
did the same thing.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
So when COVID happened,
Yeah, I'm religious
and
about it as well.
and people started talking, and then you had the two camps, right? You had the people that it was all masks and vaccinations,
Yeah.
and then you had the people that said you don't need that shit, just take vitamins and do the right dosage.
Yeah.
And so I followed both doctors to see what everyone was saying because I'm like that. But there was this one doctor who I think is around. I think she's around here, and Dr. Victory, I think was her name.
wasn't she in North
Oh.
Carolina?
Maybe it was North Carolina.
Yeah.
And she gave the exact values for what a person day. You will never have to worry about COVID-19. No matter how old or young, unless you have like a compromised immune
Sure.
system, you're not going to have a problem.
Yeah.
And so I started taking those doses, and I can say, as a living testament, I have been exposed to people that were COVID positive, and I am
Multiple times.
personally,
I-
I have been fine.
I have been. I mean, look, I cook fresh like you. I cook, so I eat fresh. I have been. I went to England at Christmas
Yeah.
when it was absolutely spiking everywhere, COVID,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I went to Abu Dhabi so on a plane. I went to England. I went on trains. I came back. I was stuck in Abu Dhabi for 2 days because Etihad Airlines are terrible. And then I got back to Sydney, and I've been exposed to two teenagers with COVID. One of whom I drove to and from Sydney, who had COVID, in the same car.
Yeah.
I've been on a plane here. I've been in LA. I've been on the metro, and I've never caught COVID.
Yeah.
So that's not to say it's not out there. It's just to say
It's just to say
I
that
haven't caught
you've
it.
done what you needed to do to
And
protect
I've
your
been
immune system.
hyper exposed.
Yeah, me too.
Same.
Now, bring this up because prior to COVID,
This is sure to get us cancelled from
it
YouTube.
probably will. It probably will.
Yeah, they just killed the feed.
All right, we're done.
But I don't know if they care that much anymore. But
No.
prior to COVID, I didn't do those things.
Right.
I did very minimally, if anything at all. Sometimes I was like, well, I forgot.
Vitamin C
Or-
was about it.
Vitamin C was
Yeah.
about it,
Sometimes
which is not
zinc.
enough. You need the zinc.
I'd say zinc. I was
You
going
need
to
the,
say
the zinc and the D.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, right now
We get lots of D in Australia from
Yeah,
the sun.
Well,
Sure.
but see, I don't spend. Prior to having the pool, I did not spend much
Yeah,
time
right.
in the sun.
Yeah.
So now I don't have to worry about it. But back during the COVID time, I spent almost all my time inside. So I didn't really have a lot of sun exposure. But anyway, anytime we went to Vegas, it was like clockwork. We both would get the COVID cold.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry,
The travel-
the travel cold.
the travel
the
crud.
Vegas, we called it
We
the
all
Vegas
three
cold.
got it last time.
And
we
I think
went.
that was COVID.
Now I have no doubt it was
This,
COVID.
let,
Yeah.
let me
We
tell you
just
about
didn't know
this. We were in Vegas on New Year's of 2020, right before
China.
Yeah, yeah.
things were going
Yeah.
down in China.
They were keeping it
but
shut.
nothing was shut
Yeah.
down yet.
Yeah.
And so when I go to Vegas,
So we were aware
My
there was
game-
something up there. Remember, we were doing like ABCs. Wash your
We were
hands.
saying the Hail Mary while washing our
Yeah,
hands.
yeah.
Because it takes
So-
about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
in Vegas, when I'm in Vegas, my primary game is Pai Gow Tiles, which is a Chinese game which only typically attracts Chinese gamblers. Very few Westerners play it. I love it because it's a very mental game. It's like playing a puzzle game.
It's a nice slow
It's
game.
slow. You don't lose much because it's so slow. So even if you're having a bad run, which is almost never, you don't, even if you, at most you maybe a couple $100, no big deal, right? But I mean, typically I walk away from a Pagao table with about $1,000 almost every time. You know, just sitting there for a few hours, just having fun, having free drinks, talking to the people. But it's almost only Chinese that play it.
Yeah.
So I'm here in Vegas, January 2020, and the guy next to me flew in from China that morning, and he was hacking up a lung.
He was.
And he was losing like crazy. And I mean, I don't know if you play a lot, if you do a lot of gambling, but what ends up happening is, if you win and the player next to you loses, their chips become your chips.
Yeah.
So I had all of his filthy chips. And I didn't have the zinc, and I didn't have the vitamin D, and I was maybe lucky if I had vitamin C in me. And I get sick as hell.
Oh, yeah.
And then they caught it from me, most likely. And I went home. Jamie has a picture of me practically passed out at the airport.
Right.
And I will say that stayed with me for a month.
Yeah, it was probably the alpha.
I think it was the alpha.
Yeah.
Because that was before even testing was available, so I wouldn't have even known.
No.
But you know, so I probably had the antibodies, which has helped a little bit too.
I'm sure.
And the original antibodies, right?
Yeah.
But I say this because the vitamins work. I'm not saying don't get vaccinated. You want to get vaccinated.
Do what you feel is best for you.
Do what feels best for you. But there's no reason, if you're a vaccination person, if you're really into the COVID-19 vax, there's no reason to not do the vitamins too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right.
I mean, why not protect yourself? Do it. Do the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, do it. Do the whole thing. Wear the mask if you need to. Don't make me do it. But
I do know that. I mean, I know people who have had, you know, double vax, two boosters.
I know that you're probably talking.
I've been lighting up now and again.
I've been through 2 cigars there, Father.
Oh, you know.
But he talks like me.
This
it's a priest thing.
Kindred spirits, these two, I tell you.
Oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I know people have had, you know, double vax, 2 boosters, and went down with it. So the vaccination doesn't stop you getting it.
It's not enough.
Now it's one of those kind of circular arguments, because they'll say, "Oh, well, that's why they didn't die."
Yeah, they say that.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
you know,
Maybe.
I mean, I'm
Maybe.
not, I will say this. I mean, I know it's going to get people upset, but I am not vaccinated. I have no desire to be. I'm vaccinated with everything else. I just don't. I don't feel that this is an effective enough
Oh my
thing
goodness!
to get.
I got the flu vax this year. In Australia, it's terrible.
It's terrible.
Flu is everywhere. It would be because people have been locked down, right?
Yeah.
So, and I have to say, I got the flu vax just in time because I got sick.
Not as
I
bad.
would have
As you would have been.
You know, so it was like a really bad cold.
I cannot emphasize it. Get the D. I can give the values if people want them, but get the D. Get the zinc with the what is it?
Quercetin.
Quercetin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get the 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day. Vitamin B too. A vitamin B complex.
Because vitamin C without zinc, it doesn't stick.
It doesn't stick.
Correct.
You need to have that combination. And you know what? If you start feeling under the weather, this is the secret weapon. Okay. If you start feeling under the weather, the first time you get that scratchy throat, you start sneezing, anything.
Start feeling run down.
Start feeling run down. You're feeling like maybe I'm coming maybe I'm getting a cold. Okay. Get yourself raw organic neem leaf from India. Okay, and this stuff, you just take a pinch of it, put it into hot water for 8 minutes, steep it like a tea, and you drink it. It's bitter as hell.
Bitter, bitter, bitter.
But you drink that, and I guarantee after 1 or 2 doses, whatever you were feeling is gone within hours.
I mean, I would eat lots of garlic and chili.
Sure.
Yeah, spicy foods.
Drink whiskey.
Drink whiskey.
Yeah,
whiskey.
There's something to the whiskey.
That's what the hot
I
toddy's
think
for.
something to the people.
There is something in common with the people I know who've never had it. COVID. They're all big drinkers.
They're all big
Or smokers.
smokers too.
I mean,
And you know what else? CBD oil.
yeah, right.
CBD has also been linked to a lower incidence of COVID infection.
Interesting.
And it's interesting. Around the time that the COVID thing started, I started my CBD regimen, not for that, for migraines. Because somebody on YouTube, Tim, was it Tim? Somebody on YouTube, I mean, not YouTube, I'm sorry, on Twitter, before I was banned from Twitter for having conversations like this.
It's a badge of honor.
Probably, I mean, it is. I don't know. They never told me what it really was, but I'm going to assume it was something like that.
No, it's some algorithm that bans
Right,
you.
some bullshit. I mean, but you know,
mollusk.
Mollusk. Yeah. I can tell you right now, you know, it works. The neem leaf and all of that stuff and the CBD, it fixed my migraines. But it had, I think, the added benefit of doing this. So, I mean, I'm not going to go out there and be like, hey, look at me and expose me, I'm immune.
Sure.
But at the same time,
Well, the bottom line is vaccines don't make you immune.
I know
So-
I have spent time with COVID positive people, and I have been just fine doing that routine.
I also have a theory that the Omicron, look, obviously these things aren't universal, but it's been a kind of late teens, 20-year-old, like they're the ones that have got down with it the most. So I don't know. I mean,
I had the thing of what a little over a year and a half ago. I had the loss of taste and smell thing.
yeah, right.
No other symptoms, just that. And I was like, I mean,
enough.
it was, well, I'm a foodie, so that's a real tragedy.
It's a problem.
Right? And so I was very upset about this. And so I started researching. What are people doing to get it back? So two things, neem leaf and alpha lipoic. And then doing a smell training where you basically, even though you can't smell anything, I'll tell you, it was so bad, Father, that I could pour a glass of scotch and I could not tell the difference between the scotch and water.
Oh my goodness.
She poured me a glass of. She did a blind test.
living.
She did a blind test with me.
Oh,
She
no.
poured me a whiskey and a water, and I couldn't tell the difference between the two. That's how bad it was.
That's bad.
And I took the neem leaf and the alpha lipoic acid, and within a week, it was back again.
Yeah, right.
It just came right back. And then slowly it just. And now I would say that my sense of taste and smell is stronger than it's ever been.
My grandmother, God rest her soul, she was anosmic. She couldn't smell for years. And so when we were young, my grandfather smoked and he used snuff. You call it that,
Yeah.
You can't. It's illegal in Australia, by the way. You can't have it.
Really?
Yeah, everything's illegal.
Everything's
Yeah. So
Breathing's
Being
illegal.
Yeah, that's
You're breaking the law right now.
Well,
I mean,
I mean, snuff?
is that the quote from 1984? You know, whatever isn't compulsory is now illegal.
Right.
Yeah, that,
you're supposed to be locked in your room talking to me on Zoom. What the hell are you doing here?
No, I'm just a renegade. But
Outlaw!
but when we were kids, I didn't know it was tobacco, right?
Right.
When we were kids, if we had like a heavy cold, my granddad would, oh, you need some snuff. You know, I won't use voice, but you know, you need some snuff. And so you put it. And I remember putting it like in the pit of your. And of course we'd then sneeze to death and blow our nose, and it would give us some relief, right?
Well, yeah, it would.
Because
But
it's
it's
got
still
menthol
awful.
in it, and
Yeah.
it is. It's horrible. I mean,
terrible.
you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't get addicted to it, I can assure you. But but my grandmother, who was a cook and a very good cook, she was anosmic. She couldn't smell.
Yeah.
And it's amazing she made a good cook, like you know, because her taste was really effective. You know,
right.
Anyway, snuff cleared it.
Cleared it.
Yeah.
It's something about it. I'm going to tell you something about tobacco. You know, it's obviously demonized, right?
Yeah.
And obviously we talked about how, you know, it's not legal to smoke. Now, people have this mentality that tobacco is the most addictive substance, one of the most addictive substances you can take into your body, right? Okay. So here's my problem with that.
I think caffeine's up there.
Caffeine's up there for sure.
Sugar.
And I can testify because
worst.
I can't wake up without some caffeine.
Yeah, I'm the same.
But I'll say
It's
this.
my drug of choice.
That's my drug of choice too. But I want to talk about tobacco for a moment because here's the thing. Okay, you get these people that have been smoking cigarettes and then they can't stop, right?
Yeah.
And they got to do the nicotine patches. They need to do all this shit to try to give it up, and they can't. And they fall off the wagon, on the wagon, all this stuff, right? A cigar, okay, has the same amount, equivalent, approximately the same amount of nicotine, which is apparently that's the addictive substance. They say, they claim. Okay, the nicotine of an entire pack of cigarettes. So one cigar whether you inhale it or not, it gets into through the salivary glands. Whether you inhale it or not, you're getting all that nicotine of a full pack of cigarettes. What I just smoked here in this cigar was a whole pack of cigarettes as far as nicotine is concerned. Okay? I might not pick up another cigar for 2 months and never once feel, oh my God, I need that fix. But when I work with people with cigarettes, they can't even go from break to break without having to go out there and do a quick one.
They have a
psychological.
So here's my theory. I think the nicotine addiction is bullshit. I think what it is the chemical additives in cigarettes that the natural does not have. Right. Cigars have to be natural.
It has something else.
There's nothing else in there.
The other
they add the tar. They add all this shit.
They also have the filter.
They add the filter. Yes. And I think what it is that makes it addictive is those chemicals that are added to cigarettes that cigars don't have. Which is why have you ever seen a chain cigar smoker other than maybe George Burns, which did it as a shtick?
No.
And look at the guy lived to 100 almost, 99.
Yeah.
Okay, so and he had a funny saying. You'd like this. I don't know if you know about it, but he said, this is a true story. Somebody went up to George Burns when he's still alive and said, he's like 90 something, and said, isn't your doctor concerned about, because he smoked, George Burns was known to smoke about 9 cigars a day. I'm lucky if I do 1 or 2 a month. He did 9 a day. Full churches.
Didn't shorten Winston Churchill's life either.
No, it didn't. So they said, is your doctor concerned about your cigar smoking, at your age and everything? And he said, well, let me tell you something. He said, if I didn't smoke these cigars, I would have never lived to attend his funeral.
That sounds exactly like something he'd say.
Because the whole idea is a state of mind, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the things that we are told in the medical profession are basically one step. It's a tailored old wives' tale. Mm-hmm. It's not authentic science. It's still superstition, but it's accepted superstition.
Oh, it's still underpinned by a lot of Puritanism too.
It is.
But also, do you know what? Death has a near 100% success rate.
It does. No one makes it out alive.
In fact, it has a 100% success rate.
Yeah.
It's just that one man came back from the dead.
Yeah.
But he still died.
Yeah.
And so, I think,
And we get to ride his coattails for a while.
Well, that's right. And so, I think that... What is it that people think? If you there's a cartoon, isn't there, of a hipster, that dies and goes to heaven, and they said, what? So all the soybean was for nothing? It's and
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna die. The question is, how do you want to live? And
how
if
do
you
you
want to
live?
live kind of like, oh my god, I'm frightened of everything. That's not living at all. Sinful, gravely sinful.
It is. I would much rather, okay, let's just say the science is exactly the way they say it is about drinking and smoking, all this stuff. And I'm not telling people go out and get drunk and go, go smoke up.
I almost never get drunk. I drink a lot.
I almost never get. The last time I was drunk was before Levi was born.
Yeah, right.
I mean, and that was because I can tell you what happened that day. When Tracy's mom and I get together, we have a good time. And
bad influences on each other.
We off each other.
Yep.
And we can hold our liquor better than anyone in the family. And that's just a known fact. Everyone knows it. And we can sit there and we can down these drinks. Everyone else is really starting to get tipsy, and we're just fine.
Yeah.
And the thing is that one day there's limits to my ability to do that, and one of those is I have to make sure that before I start, I have to have a belly full of protein.
Yeah.
If I try to do carbohydrates, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
And this day we were making my world famous, almost world famous pasta. Italian. It's an Italian sausage sauce, but I had the pasta, and she brought out the limoncello. Now let me tell you about limoncello.
I've had it.
That stuff is like crack.
It's evil.
I've had it in Italy.
That is like that's like the crack of liquor.
Right.
Okay, and that stuff
Sugar and alcohol.
that stuff will screw you up quicker than anything that you could ever drink.
That's why they give it you for free.
Yes. Yes, and so we're just sucking this stuff down, and
One is enough.
One is enough,
Right.
and here I am, belly full of pasta,
Yeah.
with just a little bit of sausage in the sauce, and drinking limoncello. And so yes, I did get drunk that night, but that was like this
I
would've
was
been like
I was pregnant, so
it would have been 2008.
yeah,
Yeah,
early 2009 maybe.
And so there's a funny story because she helped me get down to bed, and I was pretty drunk. And
I was annoyed.
I don't remember this, by the way.
I was annoyed.
And she was annoyed, and I get see. There are different types of drunks, right? There's angry drunks, there's violent drunks,
I just laugh.
and there's funny drunks.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a silly drunk.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so when the more intoxicated I get, the sillier I get, and not a violent bone in my body, and and so I said, why aren't you having some limoncello with me? And she's like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, no, you're not. and she goes, yes, I'm pregnant. You know I'm pregnant. No, you're not. Show me your belly. So it was a funny story. But that's the last
He was
time
like, no, there's a baby in there.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, there's a baby in there. No.
I don't remember this at all. But I know the story.
Show me the
Show me
belly.
I know the story through
See, if
her.
you did it now, it'd be on Instagram.
Right.
It would. Somebody would take a picture of it. But no, I mean, that's the last time I was drunk. And prior to that incident, you're talking teenage years, when I was stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been very few times where I've been really drunk. But yeah.
I never have.
She's never been drunk.
I've been
It's been a
tipsy.
while.
Tracy has
Me, but
never been drunk.
I've been tipsy, but I've never been.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
And here's a woman who has a dram with me almost every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she has alcohol. We have wine with every dinner,
Yeah.
which people probably see because I take pictures of all the food. And she has never been drunk.
Yeah.
You know, and I know people marvel at this.
I
you know?
mean,
It's because I fall asleep.
You fall asleep before you can get that far.
I'm no Puritan, but getting drunk, you cease to enjoy alcohol, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
It does. It ruins
you
it.
can't taste it.
No, you can't.
So-
And I'll tell you right now, you don't want to drink like we opened before we went live tonight. We opened a bottle that I've been saving for Father Chris, a 33-year-old Isla Scotch.
God, it was smooth.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was really
It went
good.
down like
Oh,
water, didn't it?
It was
Yeah.
good.
We'll have to have a little more tomorrow.
yeah.
But this Scott, you know, if you're drunk on that,
What's the point?
what's the point? I mean, that's like
It's
$100
almost
on-
disrespectful.
It is.
Well, it's like the documentary we watched where the guy gets his dad that really nice scotch, and
Oh,
the
God.
limit is,
You'll like this story.
and he gets, what was it that he got his dad?
Okay, so he's a collector, an investor, and a drinker. I mean, he does it all. I have a real problem with whiskey whiskey investing. I don't have a problem with collecting. I'm a collector, but investing I have a problem with because that's what drives the prices to this
true.
ridiculous level. Anyway, he is an investor, but because he has access to some of the hardest to get iterations of Scotch, he goes through these auctions that you can only get things at these auctions, right? Like Black Beaumont.
Yeah.
You'll never see that in a store
No.
anymore. You could have in the '90s. You could have got it for $200 a bottle. Now you go to auction, it's like $20,000. It's insane, and it's considered to be sort of like the holy grail of Scotch, right? Black Beaumont. If you can find it, great. If you can afford it, even better. So he's one of these kind of guys, and so he wanted to do something for his dad for Christmas, and he got him a really high-end bottle of Highland Park,
Yeah.
which is a good Scotch.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a real. I mean,
It's from
I got 12
the
at the house.
Orkneys.
it's a Highland, but I mean it's smoky.
It's Viking whiskey. It's
It is
from-
kinda, yeah, it is.
it Shetlands or Orkneys? I can't remember which, but it's up there.
It's up there, and
Orkney
it's
sound.
good.
Orkney.
I've never had a bad Highland Park.
No, they're good.
And so he gets him a real expensive
Very
bottle.
clean.
I mean, Highland can go into the tens of thousands of dollars, and I don't know how much this bottle
It was my grandfather's favourite. He used
Oh
to
yeah,
have
I mean, I usually have a bottle. I don't right now,
Yeah.
but I usually have one of one of them. I like the 18. He gets him the bottle of so he's basically what he's talking about. This story is he says,
Enjoy your scotch how you want to enjoy it.
The question is, do you put water in it or not? Do you put ice in it or not?
If you like it, put it in.
And so his attitude is, drink your scotch the way you
Absolutely.
like it. You paid for it,
I
it's your
agree.
right. However, there are limits. And he says, let me tell you one of those limits. So he says, I once got my dad a bottle of very expensive Highland Park for Christmas. And so he was all proud to show him this bottle. So his dad opens it up, and he opened a bottle of ginger and poured them into the same glass, and he says, don't do it.
I had a friend who,
Put Coke in it.
I mean,
when we were too young to know any better, he knew that he liked single malt, okay, but he always had it with Coke. It was like, seriously, just get the cheapest crap they've got in the bar and put Coke in it. You know?
I mean, my goodness.
So, yeah,
He puts in the window.
just like spending money.
Hey, buddy.
You can let him out. He can come out. See if he'll come out
It's
with
a
us.
kitty.
He's wanting to know what we're doing out here.
He's feeling lonely.
Yeah.
I think he quite likes me.
He
He does.
Yeah.
He likes men.
Ah, okay.
Hi, buddy.
Any guy, he typically push down, and out. Push.
In.
Push. Yep.
Oh. Oh, that's you. You want to come out, bud?
Heathcliff. Come on. Heathcliff.
I'm not going to let all the air out.
Give me some kitty.
Heathcliff. Come on. Come on.
No?
Heathy.
Come on.
Can someone call it kitty?
Heathcliff. Heathcliff. Come on,
buddy.
Come on, you right there.
Kitty.
He's like, the vultures are gonna get me.
There's unknown dangers.
Unknown dangers. They'll swoop down and get me.
The foxes.
He's still learning this house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's only lived here for a few days.
Did he do the thing like when we moved into our new house? Our boy cat Milton, he did the bum down. You know the cat where they walk with their
With their
foot
tail
down,
He
and they're
did,
like,
he did it. No, he was actually more relaxed about that
Yeah, right.
because he looks at us, and
Yeah.
if we're okay, he's okay. But
Yeah.
he's kind of like, you
Are you sure of the
Are
perimeter?
you sure you've cleaned this house again? Because I need to make sure. And so basically, the first day, he just wanted to stay in the bedroom.
Yeah.
The second day, he came into the kitchen and living room. And then the third day, he wanted to walk with me into every room.
Yeah.
So he followed me through the whole house, and if I went into a new room, so basically what I
He'd
did
ask to open up a closet
is
door. Like,
I went on a tour with him. So I'm like, where do you want to go? And he starts talking. He does that little meow, meow, meow noise, And
They only do that to people, right?
typically,
They don't do it
yes.
to the cats.
The
Right.
meow is only domestics.
Yeah.
The meow is something that wild cats or
oh,
feral
there he
cats
is in
will
the
do when
window.
they're
Look.
kittens.
Yeah.
Yeah, there he is.
There he is.
It's something they'll do to the mom,
Yeah.
What a
but
kitty.
they lose it as soon as they start to break that connection with the mother. But a domestic will keep it forever. But the talking that cats do is typically, I think it's their way of trying to emulate us.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Because they hear, that's all we do,
Yeah.
is we're constantly talking, right?
Yeah.
And so they hear that all the time. And kind of realize, well, that's normal, so I should try to participate in that. So, yes, and he will talk, and you can talk to him, he'll talk back. And there's a basic understanding there, because I can be like, he knows certain words. Like, if I tell him to sit, he'll sit.
Yeah.
If I tell him to lay down, he'll lay down. If I tell him, it's time for sleep, he'll go to the bed.
Yeah.
So he knows certain things, and I don't have. It's not like some people will say. It's like it's the tone of voice. No, it's not. I can say it in any way. I could be crazy, be like, "Hey, Heathcliff, time for bed," and he'll still go. Or time for sleep, he'll still go, even if I say it differently. So he knows the words. But that day, the third day, he wanted me to take him on a tour. So he walked with me to every room, and I opened every door, and he went in, he sniffed around, came out, continued on with me, and we went through every room in this house. And then after that, he's like, okay, I think it's safe.
Yeah. I approve.
Yeah.
Tell him what calmed him down on the car ride over.
Oh gosh, you like this. The Skyboat song. So
I knew that song very well.
I know, I'm sure you do. You know Outlander, the series?
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
show, time travel,
Yeah,
sci-fi
yeah.
kind of show with a bit of love story and drama. Actually, it's a love story drama with a little bit of sci-fi.
Yeah, there you go.
But we watched that, and they do a Yule log well, not every Christmas, but certain Christmas.
They have 2 Yule logs and then a couple ambiance.
But they're actually kind of neutral. So sometimes at night when we're drinking scotch and we don't want anything on, we just want ambiance. We'll put it on YouTube and just let it play. It has a nice little fireplace, and it plays the music from the show, and it starts with the Skyboat song, which is the theme of that show.
Yeah.
It's a variation of it.
Yeah.
And so he has equated that with now it's time to relax, because when he likes the smell of scotch because he knows that means we're going to get
You're
comfortable.
relaxing.
I'm relaxing, and that means I can sit on your lap and you're not going to go anywhere.
And you're going nowhere for a while. Yeah.
And so when he hears that song, it's like, okay, time to hit the nap. You know, he will just like crash on your lap or next to you or whatever.
Yeah.
And so the old house is about an hour and 15-minute drive from here.
Yeah.
And that's a long ride for a cat that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I had him in this cat crate, and I'm driving down, and of course he's in the car and he's going, wow, wow, you know, that yowling noise they make, very distressed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Heathcliff, it's okay, it's okay. He keeps doing it. And I'm like, I'm gonna fix it for you. And he looks at me and he like says something like meow meow meow. Yeah, like he's like, I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying. And I put on the Skyboat song from Outlander. He went out like a light. And he was quiet the rest of the ride. And then when it stopped, he got up. He starts yowling. I put it back on.
That's useful.
Yeah, it was.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so I mean, if you take the time to learn your cat,
Yeah.
they will communicate everything you need to know to them, and that's how you build a relationship with them. A lot of people don't know that about cats because it's different than a dog.
Oh, absolutely.
A dog wants to please you, so a dog will pretty much, do whatever.
Well, I mean,
cat is more.
Well, we domesticated dogs, right? We
Yes.
bred them.
Cats
domesticated
chose it.
themselves.
Yes.
So they walked into houses in Egypt, and all of a sudden we fit around them.
I am here.
They said-
I hear you
they
have a
said,
mouse
hey, look,
problem.
You got the food,
Yeah.
but you also have a vermin problem. I can take care of that.
Yeah.
Food's a problem for me,
Yeah.
so you feed me, I'll take care of your vermin.
That's
It's a business transaction.
It was.
Yeah.
It's useful.
But it's something they came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did not say, oh, let's make them pets.
No.
They became our friends because they're like, you feed us, we'll take care of your
I
vermin.
always remember at the police academy in England, under English law, you can't steal a cat,
Really?
but you can steal a dog.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because a cat chooses its owner,
That's what
Oh,
they do.
wow.
whereas you own a dog.
And to this day,
I mean,
I
truth be
have
told.
never picked a cat. I've always either inherited one, which was always a mistake,
Yeah.
or the cat found me and
Yeah.
I knew that this cat wants me. Heathcliff was that because I was telling you a little bit of the story. We had a individual that was on when we had a larger investigation team back in the day, before Ghost Adventure, or around the time when Ghost Adventures was starting, when I was starting to do Ghost Adventures.
Yeah.
Rather. We had a larger team. And one of my team members, big animal person,
Oh yeah.
and she had a cat, a female cat, that got out one day.
She was young, so it was before she was spayed.
Disappeared for 3 days. They were frantically trying to find her. Showed back up. Oh, a cat's back. We're good.
Oops.
But cat got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it wasn't, I mean, she knows animals, so she's like, no, this cat's pregnant.
Yeah.
And so the big tomcat, she has a little cat. I mean, big old the neighborhood got her pregnant, and had a litter of I think 5 kittens. And so Tracy comes home with 2 of them just to show me them because she knows I'm a
I was like, if I can bring
sucker
him
for kittens.
the one I want
Yeah.
and
So-
another one.
We, Jamie and I were out in my front yard smoking cigars, doing what we're doing right now. Of the 5 of the
That was
litter,
it.
and Heathcliff sat on me and just would. It was at that point I knew
Game over.
this cat chose me,
Yeah.
and he's my cat. I mean, he likes everybody.
It-
Nothing he will not let me do to him. I can do crazy stuff with that cat, and he
he tolerates my presence.
He will not.
If
bite,
you
he
have
will
to
not
be here, I
fight.
guess
mean,
you're
we
okay.
will play fight, But he never breaks skin. He never scratches me.
Well, my male cat is the opposite. So he's just an a-hole.
Is he?
You know, I love him. And you know, in Australia, all cats have to be
Thanks, Paula.
have to be desexed, as they say.
Yes, they do.
And so because they're not native to Australia.
Just a half until I gotta drive.
And we don't let them out at night because they do wreak
thank
havoc
you.
with the native wildlife. So, but you know, I always point out Jen chose him. She chose him. But and as a kitten he was adorable. You know, would sleep on me, all the rest of it. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that he kind of loves me too much. Like he can't bear it. You know, so
Can't deal with it. You're too wonderful.
Too many emotions.
So, but because he's a funny thing, like you know, we have a thing where if I just pop my head around the corner, he goes, like he loves it. He absolutely loves it, and you know, but he cannot let himself relax. Except when he does relax, it's like total
crash.
It's like Flicka.
Absolutely
Flicka was like that.
Everything, like drooling.
Yeah.
Or I can't.
Because you know what it is. He's so attentive, and that's against their nature. I mean, they're used to sleeping 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right.
So when they crash hard.
Right.
And it reaches a point where they physically can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
That's what's happening with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the girl cat, Diddy, she's I mean, she's quite skittish with strangers. She's kind of stranger danger. But you could do anything to her. She's just she'd never bite, never scratch, nothing.
Really?
Yeah. She's adorable, really. But he's cuter looking, you know.
Trade off.
So, but when he fights with me, you know, and that's partly my fault because, like, you know, I like to fight with him a lot when he was younger. But he does draw. He plays for keeps.
When I was
he draws blood. Only with me though, not with anybody else.
When I was a child, there was a black and white.
He's
like
a black and white.
Black and white.
Yeah.
Not a tuxedo cat, but kind of a black and white calico.
Like a cow patch.
Almost
yeah.
like a cow. The orange patch.
Right. Yeah.
Like just the black and white,
That's
but
Milton.
patchy.
That's Milton.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he just I was out playing in the front yard by myself, and this cat just comes running out of the bushes and just followed me everywhere. And then I went inside because I got called in. I mean, I was in grammar school. Got called in, and he followed me right in. And I gave him some milk, and that was it. And so
Never feed a cat.
We had him for a few weeks, and one of the things that I marveled about with this cat is that he never showed any aggression towards people. Like, even when he played, it was always no claws, no biting, nothing. So I called him Scratch because it was
He never did.
He never did.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we thought, this is the most wonderful cat. Well, one evening, after I'd gone to bed, my mother, this was an outdoor cat, because in New England, everyone keeps their cats in and out.
Yeah.
They go out, they don't do litter boxes in New England.
Yeah.
You put them out and then they come back in.
Yeah. That's how it is in England.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's more, I think, the old way.
Yeah.
Today, these days, well, I mean, you can extend your cat's life by double if you keep them in. So
Yeah.
that's why we do that now. But back then, I didn't know about those things. So
Yeah.
he was an indoor, outdoor cat. And so she saw a car. It was like 10 o'clock at night, just slowly drive up and stop in front of our house. And this woman gets out and she starts gesturing to the cat. And she's like, oh, hell no. And she runs out. She goes, why are you trying to take my cat?
Yeah.
And she goes, this is my cat. He's been missing for 3 weeks. And so she says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She says, yeah, he needs medication and everything. And he hasn't had it. And so we've been looking for him. We couldn't believe I was driving by and I saw him in your yard. And so my mother said, well, he's your cat. I mean, if he's your cat, then you need to take him.
Yeah.
So she picked him up and put him in her arms and scratched went across her face.
No way.
And like it's big, like bleeding.
Wow.
And the woman said, I think he's your cat now. and he was.
Well, at least she said it.
Yeah. And we kept him. We took him to the vet. The vet said he didn't have any problems.
Far out.
So
He didn't want to be poisoned
He
anymore.
probably didn't need to be like this.
Munchausen by proxy, I
He was
guess.
trying to kill me, y'all.
And so yeah, she was that was that was another cat that chose me, and again one of the best cats I've ever had. You know, I mean, truly, my best cats have been ones that picked me. So there's a lot to be said for that. And you know what it is? Biologically, cats have a developed prefrontal cortex like we do.
Right.
Dogs do not.
Oh, I mean, look, I love dogs, but they're stupid.
They're not smart. Cats can reason to a degree. I remember watching, and I think it's the predatory nature that we've kind of bred out of dogs.
Absolutely. Well, by design.
Yeah, by design.
We didn't want them to be wolves.
We didn't want to be wolves.
So
now wolves don't have that problem.
We've made them perpetual
But
puppies.
cats have kept their wild nature.
Cats are allowed to be adults.
you can't tame a cat.
You can't, not completely. They tame themselves if they want to. And so, but I remember watching Scratch go out in the backyard. He was a hell of a hunter. There would be a bird's nest that would, like, a bird would lay eggs, and as soon as the chicks would hatch, he'd run up there and take one down and kill them and bring them to our doorstep, one bird at a time. And if he could find the eggs, he'd get those too. He was crazy like that. Then they would swoop down on him, and he'd turn around and he'd rip their wing off as they were flying out. I mean, he was crazy, vicious, not to people but to animals. And
well,
one
they're
day
instinctive.
they're very instinctive.
Establishing dominance.
And so we had these chipmunks that would hide in the wall in the backyard. We had this big cement wall, it's like a retainer wall, because we were kind of in a little bit of a valley, and the wall kept the dirt from coming into our yard. And so the chipmunks would go into the cracks, and he just would love to kill those things. And so I remember one day it had there was a chipmunk walking on the top, and he spotted it from way down, and I was in the back playing with him, and with Scratch, and there was the wall had 3 supports of cement. Each one was a bit taller than the other, and the chipmunk was in front of the tall one. Scratch ran up to the tall one to look at the chipmunk, and he's watching it, and he's like, how do I get this? And he's like, and he's looking over at the smaller the smaller support bar, and he's looking at the big one that the chipmunk's in front of, and he's looking at the small one. He's like, now a dog would try to run at the big one.
Yeah.
He looks at the one that's all the way down there. He runs down to the one that's more accessible, gets up on it, and then strategically gets behind the chipmunk and got it. And he reasoned that was the better strategy. That was that prefrontal cortex working.
Not front on.
So fascinating to watch their psychology. They're really smart animals.
Oh yeah, they're fascinating.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, I love them. I've always had cats. I probably always will.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like every time one dies, I'm like, never again, because it's just such a loss.
I've told Jennifer. Jennifer is the cat lover. You know, although I grew up with cats too, it's not. You know, I pretend to hate them, but I do. And
like a good father does.
That's right. Well, my grandfather inherited one of the kittens of one of our cats, and I can't stand cats. And he was absolutely devoted to this thing.
Yeah,
You know, he used to feed it fresh fish every day, and like he was nuts about it. You know, and, when it died, he was distraught.
Oh, of course.
And so I always say to Jen, well, they're the last 2 cats you'll ever have, so enjoy them. You know? But she knows it's just not going to be true.
Not true at all. Of course not. You know, Jamie, you have had a firefly land on your head about 3 times.
Really?
They like Jamie. There's the fireflies come to these lights because they think they flicker in a way, particularly if you set them on this setting. Look.
I think it's a sexy dance.
This setting brings them in.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to see that.
Well, he's more than welcome to hang out.
That fireflies to them.
Oh, because of the pulsating.
So they come in, but I noticed there was one landing on your head. It was up on your head.
Yeah, probably the reflection of the light on my glasses.
It might be.
Yeah.
The flame and everything.
Oh yeah.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I've already watched a moth commit suicide into the flames.
Oh, did it go in?
Yeah, he
Moth
did.
to a flame. There it is.
Yeah, he suffered for it.
He did.
He got in there too quick before I could do anything.
we're trying to save bees. The bees will sometimes end up in the. I think it's been dry, and not since you've been here.
No.
Got some rain,
Right.
but it's been dry the last few days.
What certainly was in Los
Oh,
Angeles.
I'm sure
my
it was.
goodness.
I mean, never
Yeah.
rains there.
37 degrees.
But they, the bees get thirsty, and
Sorry,
they
115.
will try to go into the water, but sometimes they go down too far and they get.
That happens. I'll come out and I've risked. I couldn't tell you how many bumblebees I've
'cause
saved from
you can,
Pyro's.
You
Yeah.
can resuscitate them.
You can.
Yeah.
You can.
If you get them soon
Oh,
I've
enough-
done it.
I've saved
Yeah.
a
Done
few
it.
of them.
Yeah.
If you
done
get
it.
them out
Yep.
soon enough, they'll
Yeah.
come back.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean bees are. I mean, I always protect bees. Now
Yeah.
wasps, they can go to hell.
Yeah.
Oh, they're from hell.
Well, that's where
Nothing
they're
about
from.
them.
I was gonna say,
Sending
that's
them
where they're
back.
from.
My God, they
Sent
are.
by Satan to
Again,
sting us.
Australia, yeah, we've got lots of poisonous snakes, so, no wasps.
No wasps.
Wow.
Isn't that bizarre?
You know
Well,
what?
we have a lot
You know
of-
what though? I think I'll take the wasps.
You know what? I
we
wouldn't.
got a lot of poisonous snakes. And
We have
I'll
two.
tell you, when we moved
It's
into
the
this house,
spiders for me
this
though.
house was 3 months empty.
Yeah.
The owners had moved already, and it had been empty for 3 months.
It doesn't take long.
When we went down to move the siding that was in the storage room, they had extra siding. A whole swarm of
No
black
kidding.
widows came out.
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
You get that, like in Australia, if you build a new house, you get redbacks, which is the equivalent.
we get a lot of poisonous spiders here.
Yeah, you get
Yeah,
redbacks
blues,
for 3 years.
Yeah.
If,
Oh.
if you break new ground, you get redbacks for 3
Yeah,
years.
I'm sure.
You know,
Yeah.
everyone gets their house sprayed every year, but
That's what you gotta do.
I mean, redbacks hurt.
We need to do that.
Oh yeah,
You know,
we do. We got to get this place treated. It fortunately has the termite, which it needs being in the woods like this.
yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
we got. I mean, Georgia has a very large black widow and brown recluse problem,
Right, yeah.
and they're nasty.
Yeah.
I've
They'll
been
mess
bit.
you up.
I've been bit by a black recluse almost every summer at the other house,
That really,
and it's a nasty bite.
yeah.
Um,
Hurts.
I'm probably immune to it now because I've got so much of the venom. But I've
Can
never
you shoot
been.
web out of your wrist by any chance? Or?
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, they're nasty. But
Yeah, we have the funnel web spider in Australia. The Sydney funnel web is because there's different subspecies, but the Sydney funnel web is the most aggressive.
Is it?
And they're ground spiders, so they come up from them.
Yeah.
So when you get heavy rain, it floods them out of their holes,
Yeah.
right? So they come up and
They're pissed.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're aggressive. So but they're really easy to catch because in order to bite you, they have to go back on their hind legs like this.
Oh, really?
So you
And
get
so
a
you
little
just put a pot on top of them,
Oh.
and if you harvest them, like, the hospitals want them for anti-venom.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
right,
they milk them, so,
Yeah,
having said that,
get
I
paid
mean,
for it?
if Jennifer's watching this, she's there going, yeah, who's the one that puts the pot over the
Ah.
spider? That's when I say, I'm too English for that.
I'm not. I mean, spiders don't bother me. I don't go seek them out.
Yeah.
But I'm not really bothered by spiders. Surprisingly, the one thing I really don't like, the only thing that kind of makes me creeped out a little bit, are roaches. I don't like roaches.
The palmetto bugs
Yeah.
that fly.
Yeah, I can't
that's,
stand those things.
You want to hear me
And they
scream?
are all over the place in Australia.
Oh yeah, well, any
They're all over
warm
here,
climate.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a warm.
And with this rain,
climate.
they'll be trying to find ways into the house. Too.
Like, and the other thing, like, again, because I grew up in the north of England, if there's cockroaches, it's only because of, like, bad hygiene. That's the only place you'd have cockroaches in England.
Yeah. Same
Whereas-
in the north, but
Yeah,
here
but
it's
no,
like you have them
in a
right
warm
away.
climate, they live it.
They do.
Yeah.
So
You're in their territory.
yeah. So
Yeah.
there's also that sense of revulsion that cockroaches means. I'm going to get food
I
poisoning.
think that's what it is.
You know?
I think it's like a dirty thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not. They're
No.
natural here. You
Yeah,
know,
they
so
are.
it's you could probably eat them actually.
I'll pass. I'll take a steak.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to do the bug protein thing.
The
Y'all
environmentalists that have us all eating
Yeah, they
cockroaches.
can have it.
You
It's
go
like,
right ahead.
You can have it. Eat your heart out.
Give me my cow.
I'll even make you prepare it for you, but I'm not tasting it.
No. I mean, I've had crickets, but
Well, it's got to be probably the same flavor.
I've
Yeah,
had crickets.
I
too.
mean-
it's not good.
Not good, huh?
Nah. Even dip it in chili doesn't make it a thing.
Ugh.
You know,
No.
does not make it food.
Now,
Just give me the
Tracy's
chili.
dad has had ants,
Right.
and he did
I
like.
think they're actually pretty good.
I have heard that, well, depending.
They're prepared a certain way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Or a certain type of
Yeah.
animal.
But he did like it. He thought they were good. He said he'd do it again, I think. But I don't know about roaches and crickets.
No, I draw the line at roaches.
I think I'll go for a steak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's just not for me.
Cows just taste better.
Yeah.
They do.
They really do.
They really do.
So,
So you're going to find that out tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah. Fogo has, I think, the highest quality beef of any restaurant I've ever been to in Georgia.
The picanha was on point the other night. I can tell you that.
So you were there recently?
For a
Yeah,
birthday.
Rebecca took me there for my birthday, and her brother came with, and so we got the Wagyu ribeye.
Oh, wow.
And
Wagyu, that's so good.
I keep forgetting his name. I call him Goronski because he looks like Goronski from the Patriots, although he's really skinny now. But he came by with a cart with the Louis and Macallan 25. Is that right? I can't remember.
McAllen 25? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
expensive.
and
nice.
he pushed that on us pretty hard, but I was like, not tonight.
Well, because he
we're
knows
going for
that I
Wagyu.
usually get it.
Right.
You're with
He
him.
saw me and he was like, "So," I'm like, "We're getting the Wagyu, bro. That's me."
I did have a Macallan 18
but-
a couple of months ago. It was pretty bloody good.
I'll tell you, though, I love McKellen 25. And it's exceptional.
Yeah.
But Glenlivet 25 at about half the price
Yeah, right.
is
It's
actually
there.
better value.
Yeah.
It's a better value. It really is. I mean, McKellen is better, but not
So
double
much
the
better.
price better, if that makes sense.
I've had a message, and I think it'd be good, Brian, if you gave a shout out to Zoe, who's Jennifer's eldest daughter.
Oh, well,
She's
Zoe.
the Ghost Adventures fan.
Zoe,
Massive.
thank you for bringing Father Chris into the Ghost Adventures family. You know, even if it's by proxy.
The
Right?
extended, yeah.
Who knows? You know, I mean, if they call me and you're in town, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to bring another assistant. Is that
Maybe
okay?
I'll come to town.
Yeah.
Ooh, a double whammy.
We do
Appreciate
enjoy.
the support, Zoe.
Yeah,
Thank you
we
very
do.
much.
We do enjoy watching the show. Me and Zoe and Jen.
It's a
And,
good show.
Yeah, it's a good show.
I still think, I mean,
I miss
there's a
being
lot
out
of
there.
paranormal shows. Most of them are pure shit.
Yeah.
But Ghost Adventures has that little style.
It
I
does.
know above people, you know, think it's like too dramatic, but it's like that's what makes Ghost Adventures what it is.
But also, it's dramatic. But you get
But
the
that's what makes it entertaining.
But also, I think that is how Zach is.
They don't.
That is how
well,
Aaron
I
is.
mean,
You know,
that's even
Well,
outside
it's
of.
the boys
It's also-
have a chemistry.
Yeah, I'm talking about
Yeah,
like
you
the
can tell they're just
voiceovers and,
really
Oh,
close
sure.
and the
friends.
cutscenes.
Yeah.
People complain about that. They're like, just show us the investigation, but it wouldn't be the same show.
No, that's right.
You need that backstory.
It's
Keep
supposed
you
to be
glued to it.
entertaining.
It
right?
is. It's and so I think he does. It's a perfect formula. What they do, what the GAC does, is the perfect formula. You got a half hour of the story, and you get like a little bit of like it's like B-roll stuff, and you get like the what do they call it when you do reenactments,
Yeah.
you know, and then you get the half of the show that's the investigation.
Yeah, sure.
It's a great formula.
Absolutely.
And no one really does it like that, you know.
So Jen just told me that Zoe was secretly watching it from the age of 9
Oh, really?
and scaring herself half to death.
I mean, I watched them from the beginning. I'm obviously a lot older than Zoe, but I've watched them grow up,
Yeah.
and it's been pretty
Yeah.
I
crazy.
find it funny because I never in a million years sought out paranormal investigation as a career path.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
I mean, that's not what I said. I didn't say, you know, when I grow up, I want to be that, right? It just sort of happened, and I've been doing it for a long time. So when Travel Channel and started doing, like, going away from travel shows and turning it into a, like, paranormal investigation network, Ghost Adventures was the big show. It still is. It's the one they push. Of course, now it's like the streaming, and people are upset about that too. But you know, at the time, it was all network, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember.
And it still is in Australia, by the way.
Is it? Yeah, I think it is. They put it all streaming for the new shows now.
Explains why I can't get the DVDs.
It might be.
Yeah.
And so they. I remember when Ghost Adventures came. I mean, they had all the shows, and then there was other like Ghost Hunters, all that stuff.
Yeah.
and I'm not talking bad about any of those guys. You know, I'm just saying when I would put it on, Ghost Adventures would be what I would watch.
Yeah.
That's the one that caught my attention. That's the one that would keep my attention. They do the marathons.
Well, I told you when I was in the hospital.
Yeah, you did it too.
When I was in the hospital and on a shitload of drugs.
That's what you watched.
That's the one show I watched because I don't want Zach to get a big head or anything, but his voice was so
soothing.
Yeah,
that's where I'm going with this.
And so I would watch the marathons of the show, never thinking in a million years I'd actually be working with the dude.
No, of course not.
But in the hospital, that was it. I had on Travel Channel. I watched River Monsters.
Yes.
And
that's so funny. That was Zoe's other favourite show.
2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, Jeremy's the.
He's brilliant.
Badass.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
So, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd finally make my body relax enough, and it would be his voice that I'd doze off to.
Yeah, there you go.
So
for 2.5 months, laid in a damn hospital.
Right in line with what she's saying. So I am a clinical insomniac. Okay, typically.
That's my issue too.
And so I'll be up
to mine for a long time.
all the hours of the night. I'll sometimes stay up for 2 days before I can finally sleep. It's just the way that I am sometimes. I get wired that way. Not always. Right now I'm in a very good cycle and I hope I stay there for a while, but that happens. I fall out of the rut and then I get into insomnia. So back when this would happen, what I would do is Tracy would read in bed.
Tracy, who has enormously powerful arms.
She does.
She has a whole bat.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Really got to bring a tripod.
We do. I'll try to find it tomorrow. She would read in bed, and I put on.
Just another moth.
Oh, it sounded like a bat.
Well, that'd be cool.
Well, I know there's bats out here. So I'd put on Ghost Adventures, and Zach, with that monotone voiceover that he does, you know, would just like put me into the.
I won't do the impression.
No, well, I'll do it because it's very funny. Hooked. Okay, 2 episodes have got me hooked. I never told this story before, so if he's watching, he's probably gonna. You know, I don't know if he'll laugh or not. He might. Oh gosh, what the heck is that thing?
Oh, another suicide.
Oh, he went in.
Oh, come on. Oh, that's a beetle. Come on, buddy.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's a big one.
There you go.
I think it was in my drink.
It's just a beetle.
No, it didn't go in. They hit the glass on the
did
outside.
it? Okay.
It's just one of those beetles.
You got him out?
Yeah, I got him.
He's gone.
Yeah. Rescue. You're welcome.
So so the first episode I saw when I started really getting hooked on the show, never in a million years thinking that my work would ever be noticed by them.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it very low scale. It was all under the radar. Only people in the know knew how to reach me to do, because I didn't advertise back then. So I was very surprised.
No, he's in there.
You got it?
What, the beetle?
He's cooking.
Did he come back?
I can smell it.
Because you went that way.
Where did?
There's
dude,
one right
I
on
see
the
him.
thing.
I see him. Dadgummit, dude.
I can smell it.
I pushed him out earlier.
You went over there.
There was one that went that way. There is
maybe that's
one in
another
there.
one.
There might be another one.
So, anybody want to try the I mean, it's about done.
It's roasted.
You
It's
can smell
roasted,
it.
toasted.
You can
Roasted.
definitely smell
It's a
it.
bit well done for
Toasted.
me.
Get some paprika
I
and
prefer
put it on there.
Yeah, it's right there. Look at it.
Bless it.
Sorry, buddy. Oh, poor fella.
We did try and save him.
We
I
did.
can smell him now. It doesn't
Yeah,
smell
Yeah.
does not smell
Oh,
good.
No, he doesn't smell good.
No, it
It
doesn't smell
doesn't
good.
smell appetizing.
Not at all.
Oh, you're not wrong. So anyway.
So Zach.
Oh,
So
my
the first
goodness.
episode I saw, which was one of the old ones, where he's got a flair for like interesting clothing sometimes.
Oh,
He
yeah.
clothing choice.
Yeah.
Now
He's
it's
obsessed with that velvet cap. I don't know what
He's
that's
got
about.
that thing.
Lepers.
But this was before that, and he had this. He was out west,
Yeah.
doing in like a ghost town or something, and he was wearing this like almost like a sheriff's outfit, but it wasn't. And
Just like Woody.
kind of like a little bit like that. It was kind of a strange outfit, and so he's.
And if anyone knows the episode title,
Yes, we'd love
please
to see it
tell
again,
us
I
because we
don't
cannot
remember.
find
I
it.
can't
It was
find
somewhere
it.
in Nevada, I think.
It was somewhere in Nevada, I think.
One of the
Or Texas or
ghost
But if
something
anyone,
like
if anyone knows offhand, please,
Virginia City,
please.
maybe?
It might have been.
We've looked at all sorts of
I don't
episodes.
know. We haven't found it. I mean, I have Discovery Plus. I can't find it. So he was, and this is the one that hooked me because I mean, I will get the giggles and I can't stop, and will piss her off because she's trying to get to sleep, and I'll be laughing.
Would you stop it? I have work tomorrow.
And so it just hit me funny. He's walking down the street, and he's doing his little monotone voiceover. This town is that kind of town, you know. And so, and then he's got the little sheriff's outfit, and some car pulls up on the side of him, and he yells at him, and the camera's like zooming in. I don't know if it was Billy or someone that was like filming him from behind, and you can see he's like, are you talking to me? And he gets over, and they do the little subtitles because you can't really hear what the guy's saying. And the guy goes, "Are you some kind of cop?"
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was about that, but it just cracked me up. Because
like
it's
the
like,
least cop
does he
person
look
ever.
like a cop? I mean, does he really look like a cop?
Not even remotely.
But I think the guy was being serious.
Yeah.
Because he had a little badge and everything. It was very strange. So that was the first one. Then after that, I was watching it religiously.
Yeah.
Might have been
It is addictive.
It was addictive. And then the
it's addictive.
second one was, again, with the voiceover. They are in, again, some Nevada place, and they decide they're going to go for some Chinese food.
Oh no.
And they end up,
no.
and it takes forever. They're there, it's like an hour and a half. They're starving. Zach's getting a little
I just want my.
And so he's doing the voiceover for this. I think he's trying to be a little funny. And he's like, and it's an hour and a half, and we still haven't eaten. And then the dumplings arrive, and I bite into it, and it scalds me. And he bites in, and this juice shoots over him, and he just gets totally burned. It's funny the way he's narrating. Yeah. Those were the two episodes
Beware
that got
of the
me hooked.
dumplings.
I never in a million years thought I would eventually be part of the show, because I would watch it as a fan. I loved it. You know, it's a good show.
It is a good show.
Yeah. But he's got a knack for that. Zach is
They're suggesting it might be the Apache Junction
right. Which season? You
in
know?
Goldfield.
Goldfield. Okay.
Goldfield, okay, that
The great
Goldfield's
thing-
where it all started, I believe.
The great thing about him is he can laugh at himself.
He does.
Oh yeah, big
You know,
time.
so
He's got a dark sense of humor,
Yeah.
and it almost never comes out. When you're doing the show, he is serious as shit.
yeah.
Dead
If
serious.
people do anything that goes
Oh,
outside
you
of
can
his,
see it.
he gets pissed.
He gets angry.
He does, and it's because he's so serious about the work. They think it's just a show for him.
No, I think he's authentic.
No, he's very
I think that
authentic.
comes across.
Probably, I mean, all the guys
Whatever
are.
people think about what he does, I think you wouldn't doubt that he believes in it.
No, it's a passion.
Yeah.
Particularly he and Aaron. I mean, Jay and Billy are too. I'm not saying they're not, but I mean, I think Jay and Billy came out as production crew.
Yeah, and then got drawn
And got
in.
into it,
Yeah,
got
yeah.
drawn in as the main cast. But I mean, it was Aaron and Billy. I mean, they really, it's a passion.
Well,
You know,
part
and
of the
evolved
shtick-
from that.
Part of the
Thank
shtick
you,
is
Marina.
that Aaron steps on rakes, right? So he'll say something like, "Oh, that place is really creepy,"
Yeah.
and then you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know that
He'll put him
he's
in
gonna
the
say,
place
"You need
by
to go
himself,
there."
yeah.
Oh, you find that creepy? All right, guess where you're
I'm gonna
sleeping.
lock you in. You know, yeah.
You've seen the one where he sent me in to scare the shit out of him. Have you seen that one?
I must have. Which one?
That was,
He sent him in to
That
startle
was the only thing
Amarillo.
Aaron.
about Amarillo.
Amarillo. The only good part of that
Yeah,
episode, because Amarillo was a shitty case.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was, everybody got bamboozled on
Yeah,
that one.
that was a bogus case.
Right.
Although I will say I do think there was some energy
There
in
were
that
things going
house,
on, but not what they were
but
saying.
it wasn't what they were saying or what
Yeah.
they were. But
I do remember that one.
yeah, so
Yeah.
so Billy's in there trying to get something on the EVP, you know, with the I think it was the SB7 was it?
I don't remember.
And of course it's loud. The SB7's really loud,
Yeah, yeah.
and you can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Zach says, "I'm in the base camp with Jamie," and Zach
Okay.
says, "Why don't you go in and see if it provokes something?" And I looked at him. I said, and I kind of looked at him, and I didn't say it, but I looked at him. and I said, "You know that's going to scare the shit out of Billy because he's not going to know I'm in there."
Aaron.
I mean, Aaron.
Aaron.
Rather,
Yeah.
Aaron. And
And his reactions
yeah.
are so good.
And so I go in, and it was freezing cold. So I had my black overcoat
It was
on,
cold.
and so he comes out. He doesn't know I'm in there. He's trying to hear if there's anything coming through. He spots me. He thinks I'm some kind of like apparition.
Cowboy apparition.
He shoots for the door, slips, smashes his head into. I don't know how he wasn't bleeding.
I thought he dislocated his shoulder.
I mean, he ran like lightning and he crashed into that door so hard. I felt so bad. And people think that's like staged. It's not. That really happened.
You can see
Poor
that
Aaron.
just highly strung.
Yeah,
And like,
Well, you're so intense on listening to what might be coming through that you're not paying attention to anything else.
fair play to him. Like he gets freaked out.
Yeah.
But he does it anyway.
Yeah.
Like that's bravery. That's bravery.
And that's the fun part. And I mean, it is entertaining. But the reality of it is, I think, and that's truth is stranger than fiction. When you do paranormal investigation at that level, strange shit happens. You know what you're doing. It gets even more.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Zach is so successful at getting results, because I think he's reached a point now where he connects with these things, maybe to his detriment.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's had a deleterious effect on him spiritually. I do.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who watches the show would say that's obvious.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I applaud his willingness to explore human evil at the level that he's willing
And
to.
you'll notice that when you go.
Yeah. Oh, when you see that museum.
And he's obviously very, where I think he's really beneficial to the church, for example, is, he's very clear about the difference between sort of demonic circumstances and acts of evil.
Yes.
That the one doesn't have to lead to the other. There's no pardoning of those.
He understands the dynamic.
Yeah.
And he understands also the solution.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he'd call on me as a representative of the church, which is probably the only representative of the church that would be willing to do this work publicly. Because I can tell you right now, Roman Catholic priests wouldn't be allowed.
No, I know that.
Their bishops wouldn't permit it.
No.
So he has to obviously go to the independent churches, but most of them are not very skilled or qualified or competent. Right, competent's the word.
Yeah.
They're not.
And they know they're not.
They know they're not. Or some of them would rather have you believe that they are when they're not.
Yeah, but they won't go on TV to prove that they're not.
That's true. And so I think the fact that, because obviously he could just go and find, you could get Patty Gregory to do all of it.
I was going to ask you, because I don't know, and I suspect people would want to know. I mean, you may have spoken about this before, I don't know. But how did you intersect with him? How did that happen?
Dave Schrader called me.
Right, okay. He's the producer.
No, Dave was I guess like a fixer for the show for a while.
Okay.
He does Darkness. He did Darkness Radio. I don't know what he does now.
He was on Holzer Files.
Holzer Files.
Oh,
the guy with
I
the
know who he
awesome
is.
voice.
Yeah. So Dave Schrader.
Yeah, right.
Called me up. I don't know.
Yeah, we watched that too.
I think. I don't know this for a fact.
That was a good damn show. I don't know why they didn't renew it.
I know that the chief exorcist for the Order of Exorcists, Archbishop Ron File, with the Old Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I know who he had been on Coast to Coast several times. And there was one episode of Ghost Adventures where they called him for some professional advice. And you can hear Ron File on the phone talking to the guys.
Yeah.
I suspect what probably happened, and I don't know this, I just suspect this from logical deduction, that they had a case, which was probably the Erie case, and they called Ron File to see if he could either come out or if he could recommend someone who could come out, and I think Ron gave them my name.
Yeah, right.
And that's how, and Dave called me, and then the next day Zach called me to talk about the case, and that's how Erie happened.
Yeah, because Erie was...
That was the first, and that was before Jamie was on the show.
Yeah, that would be right, yeah.
That was the one I did, one episode I did without her.
He came back and said, I'm not doing this alone.
I did, because when they called me...
I wouldn't let him.
They called me from
Erie was profound. I mean,
it was.
And did you want to kind of recap what the situation was?
Well, Erie was where we had the horseshoe, and the guy that was being affected by something in that house.
Yeah.
And his whole like behavior change. He was having like all
He
sorts
stole
of
the
medical
horseshoe
problems.
from a witch's house.
He stole a horseshoe.
Who was into the dark side of magic.
And so they featured me doing an exorcism of the horseshoe, which apparently, from what I understand, fixed the problem. Donated to the church. She was so grateful.
Yeah, right.
So she sent the donation to the church after that, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
To get that recognition that they said when they were that grateful.
Yeah.
But Ogden wasn't too far behind that, and they called me back and they said, "We'd like to have you back on. We have an even worse case."
Yeah, that was too.
And I said, "Well, I'm going to tell you right now."
That was very distinct.
That was my baptism by fire case.
And I said to them, I said, "Look, I'm going to tell you right now. I'll go, but I cannot proficiently do this alone. It was too cumbersome to do Erie.
It was
by
a
myself,
2-week
and I said, if
recovery
you've got
after
a person
Erie.
Who's
Yeah.
or near it,
And I
which
think
they
you
were
was.
in Ogden.
I think you were.
It was on that precipice.
Yeah.
Right before it happens,
Yeah.
I said, "I need my assistant. I
Well,
can't do this
I mean, yeah.
without help." And you guys are great. They prayed with me.
Of course.
You can even see it on the show.
Yeah,
They
you
prayed.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, "You guys are great," but I said, "You're not qualified to do what my assistant." And that's how
And she's a badass assistant. so.
Jamie got on.
She's a great assistant.
I
That's
think
what
What was the one I mentioned it recently to you? Poor dude, like him and his wife. It was a more recent one.
Biggs.
Yes.
The
that would be
Exorcist.
Tori and Gloria.
Yeah, Tori.
Yeah.
in
Gloria
Biggs,
broke my
California.
heart.
Because that seemed so tragic to me.
It was
because he was a really nice guy, right?
It was it went downhill quick.
Yeah.
Well,
They
that
started off with us interviewing him at the table.
Yeah.
And I just noticed, how cops were always watching hands and eyes, and he was averting. He wouldn't look at either one of us in the eye. And he kept playing with his toothpick and going nuts.
Yeah.
And I basically called him out on it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you look us in the eye?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. And then it just went downhill quick.
Yeah.
believe it or not,
It was dynamic.
Yeah.
Biggs,
and-
believe it or not, was the episode that killed our chances of getting our own show.
Really. Because it was too real.
It was too real.
Yeah.
What happened was our producer.
I can't believe it. Sadly,
Our producer said the network came back to them and said, "We don't want to get a reputation for exploiting the mentally ill."
He was not mentally ill.
And he
He
was
wasn't-
not.
no,
he
he
was
wasn't.
not mentally ill.
No.
The man had a genuine.
He was a
spiritual
gentle,
problem.
kind guy.
And I believe he was.
Yeah.
He was liberated after that. They never
Oh,
called
yeah.
us back,
Far out.
Yeah.
and they don't understand. The network doesn't give a shit. That's the problem.
That was probably one of the best shows, right?
I
It's
mean,
one of my
I-
favorites.
I mean, I've never looked at the ratings
It was
on.
a powerful show for me. It was number one on the top 10
Was it?
exorcism things.
This is
But
what I can't
It was
understand,
real.
right?
It was very emotional. It was a fight. We were both exhausted.
They were genuinely asking for help, right?
They were.
Yeah.
It was obvious. Like,
Oh, it's totally.
When
And
you-
honestly, Zach did not intend to bring me out on that
And
one.
he wasn't there for
He
that.
did not call us. I did not come to the investigation.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
They did it, and Zach sits down. You see it on the
Yeah,
episode,
he
and
says
having done the shows with them, I know the dynamic.
Yeah.
All of that was absolutely him in the moment saying, "We need to
Uh-oh.
call Bishop Brian for this.
We gotta help this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get the bishop out here." And then Jay came back with us.
When you
Yeah.
look up and see the look of complete horror on the wife,
Yeah.
that's her husband.
That's
That's what I went over to her and grabbed her
I
and held her
remember, yeah.
because she was completely. That's not my husband.
No.
Yeah.
And it was, and I saw it because
Well,
you see me looking right into his eyes,
It's that
and
weird.
I'm staring it down, and it was not his eyes. They were black.
Yeah.
There wasn't the serpentine, but it was just this visceral hatred staring back at me.
Which was so
And then
not.
Bishop kept on,
so
and then
not
I
his
saw
character.
his eyes come back,
Yeah.
Yep.
and his body kind of relaxed, and that's how I knew. Okay, this is legit.
But,
And I'm getting goosebumps remembering it.
Just watching it on the TV. I mean, it was obvious to me that.
Smack my rosary out of my hand.
But in a way, she was relieved that you'd seen it. You see.
Right.
That's what I understood was to say. But she was saying, at least someone else has now seen this.
Right.
It was
She's
like
not crazy.
Yeah,
Her
this
husband's
isn't the
not
first
crazy.
time.
This is real.
Yeah, and he wasn't some domestic abuser.
No,
right?
Oh, not at
absolutely
all.
not.
He was like the
adored her.
opposite of that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
adored
no,
her.
he wasn't violent at all. What
No.
you see him acting out was truly at that point
So out of character.
that demonic influence
Yeah.
finally,
Last gasp.
it knew that
Yeah.
it knew its time was up. It
You're
lashed
just
out
trying
as
to
they
keep
do.
him from destroying furniture and hurting himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he's a big dude.
I mean, he his glasses got thrown on the ground. Her rosary
Yeah.
got thrown.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I'm sure you can handle yourself, but I was glad that Jamie was there.
Oh
Because
yeah, I
he needed
mean,
restraining, right?
oh yeah.
we did. I mean, the
Trying to restrain somebody without hurting
It was
them, that
it was
hard.
tough
It's
because
very
I'll tell
hard.
you,
That was hard.
I'll be honest, it's nice because prior to Jamie joining my team, I really didn't have the members weren't
No, because they were
helpful.
good.
They were good.
Oh, look, the ideal
But-
team, right? If you could dream of a team, it would be to have a psychiatrist
Yes.
who wasn't a total atheist, right?
Well, somebody that
So-
has the medical. So yes,
Absolutely.
the medical
Psychiatrist or a medical doctor
medical
and a
doctor or
psychologist.
both. Yeah.
Somebody who is police trained
Yes.
Investigator. Yeah.
and an exorcist. That's the
the
dream
best
team.
thing.
And maybe someone who's sensitive. Right?
Well, you know what else doesn't hurt? A lawyer.
yeah.
Yeah, that's been the big.
I mean, it would be nice to
Yes,
have
now.
a legal representative
Yeah.
there as well. And if there's ever a question
Yeah.
as to what went on,
Yeah.
that's obviously a tall order, but
Yeah.
that would be the ideal team if you're
Yeah.
talking ideals. But no, I mean, I did not have her support prior to her joining the team, and I remember when my secretary at the time, when we were still recruiting, I said, I don't care how you do it, get me a cop.
Yeah.
And if a cop ever applies, you
Say yes.
You say yes, and I will.
We'll work on the rest.
I will cancel whatever I have on my schedule to do that interview ASAP because I do not want to lose that.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that Jamie was the first cop to apply, and we got her appointment pretty quick. I recall.
Yeah.
And she you spent like 3 or 4 hours with
Yeah, I
her.
was there almost 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And like I knew at that point, and like finally I got some help because yes, I used to have to wrestle these people myself,
I mean, I think
which was not fun.
If you go back to the kernel of what's good, like in the Catholic Church, right, a bishop ought to authorize an exorcism. Okay, there can be extraordinary circumstances, but
Yeah.
the general rule is a bishop will authorize an exorcist to.
In a rare situation,
Yeah.
might be able to, but
Yeah, if they have to, because no
but
one
they're
else.
usually already authorized to do it.
But part of the authorization process is to look after the priest.
Mm-hmm.
It works both ways, right?
Well, a lot of the reasons for this though also
Illegal
is
I know.
legal
I know.
liability.
I know.
The church doesn't want to be sued.
I know, because everyone's seen The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I'm going to be honest. People have wondered when are we getting back into the work, and
it's
I
dangerous.
mean part of it is COVID.
Yeah.
But- Is it another one of those big ones?
Yeah, off you go.
No.
I didn't say you could stay. Go on. Off.
Those are big.
Oh, don't find
no,
the
we
flames.
were-
right back in.
Did he do it?
Yeah,
in.
he did straight in.
Nosedive.
Jeez.
Oh no, he's right here.
Oh,
Oh, well done.
You stay down there.
Yeah, he's right there.
so down
Yeah, of course.
for sure because
It
of the travel.
came to a screeching halt.
But the reason we haven't jumped right back in is because now that we're building assets for the church, I absolutely
You've got stuff to lose.
I cannot
Yeah, yeah.
risk the church getting sued
Yeah.
now. Because before they could sue the church, it had nothing. But
Yeah.
now that it's going to be a property holder,
There's a risk.
and there's risk. So I have to be now extra careful
Yeah.
and we've already spent like $5,000 on getting just the websites up to snuff legally.
Yeah.
And that's really the reason. So I understand.
But now you
I
know
get
why
why
Roman
the
Catholic
church-
bishops are so hesitant.
I do.
Yeah.
Because they can't risk it.
No.
And as a bishop, I can't.
And they
risk
can't
it.
vanish.
No.
Like.
But at the same time, you have pastoral duty,
I agree.
and so you got to find
It's
the
kind of a
balance.
hard corner to be in.
Yeah.
Of course it is. And, well, that's the church.
You have
It
to
is.
turn down
So
people that,
it's dangerous work.
It is dangerous
Yeah,
work in
people
every
don't
level.
understand that.
On every level.
But what we've seen from the church not taking risks
right.
is what happens to the Christian
Well,
faith.
it becomes sterile.
What? It becomes pointless as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you're not willing to stand up against the demonic,
I mean, what good
what's
are
the point
you?
of the church?
I mean, whether you're talking about salvation, which is basically a type of exorcism,
Of course.
you know,
Every baptism has an exorcism.
yes, salvation is exorcism.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
It's theosis.
It is. It is. It is.
So,
I mean, people don't get that, but exorcism is the fundamental property of the religion, the Christian religion.
I think in some ways though, like if we compare West with East, right? In the Eastern Church, exorcism is a far more
Simple thing.
mundane.
Oh yeah, they have the big event.
Standard.
They line up.
So no one's going to sue the Orthodox Church for doing that, right?
No.
Or they go, well, you know, at Mass, you come to confession, and in the middle of the liturgy, sorry, I should say the Divine Liturgy.
Divine liturgy. Yeah.
In the middle of the Divine Liturgy, I'll come out with my cross, and things will get real in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's how it's done in the Orthodox Church.
It is.
And
Well, they have the
The
oil
brush.
with the
Yeah,
brush, the
yeah.
paintbrush, and they put it on. They paint the
but
cross on
you,
the floor.
you could, if there's a really good show, it's on YouTube as a documentary, like in 3 parts.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called The Exorcist or something like that. And they've got exorcists who are Church of England, Roman Catholic, and Orthodox.
Yeah.
And for me, the Orthodox one is the lowest risk
Yeah.
because this is just like there's nothing hidden. This is just the liturgy.
Yeah.
And so, whereas I know why in the West it's different, because in the West it's considered part of the sacrament of reconciliation. And so therefore there's the seal, the confessional that comes with all of that. But
Which, as an addition to what you're saying, I cannot emphasize enough how many times I've brought a person with a demonic oppression or even a potential prepossession
yeah,
into the confessional, heard their confession,
Done.
And boom.
and then it's gone.
yeah.
Because the sin is
Is the
where the
problem.
demon is.
Absolutely. Look, we would, any exorcist in the world that knows anything about this would say exorcism is a sacramental,
Yeah.
mass and penance. Trumpet.
Yeah.
Like they're above
Much
it.
more powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, I have had people come to me requesting personal exorcisms of a person, and in the you deal with the extraordinary in terms of you get called to a house because someone else is there.
Yeah.
You know, you go and deal with what you got to deal with. But in the ordinary course of life, people experiencing these things come to the church, and tell me the history. You want to get some background. You do it slow time, right? Investigation.
Right.
And then you say, okay, penance. Or, sorry, have you been baptized? That's the first question.
Yeah, you're right.
If they've not been baptized, we know the answer.
Yeah.
Right? It's baptism. That's
Yeah.
the end of it.
Right.
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 And so, but if they've been baptized, it's penance. So, see, people want cheap grace, right?
Yeah.
You think?
Oh yeah.
We all do. I'm not pointing the finger.
It's a human
I
flaw.
do too. I want
Right.
cheap grace too,
Right.
but it doesn't work because there's no such thing.
No.
And so cheap grace is to say, oh, come to a
There's
priest.
no such thing as cheap relationship.
Of course.
Yeah.
So cheap
Has to
cheap
be
grace says,
authentic.
come to a priest, he'll wave a magic cross over you, and you're healed.
Yeah.
No,
It's not,
because
it's not magic.
no, exactly, because the role of the priest is to call you back to Christ,
Yeah.
who heals you.
And then the work begins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
then-
the start.
That's
the
just the start.
After
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I'm not, I mean, that ain't even the like the prerequisite to the start.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, that just sets the stage. It clears the air so that you can begin.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, it's all about relationship, and that's the part that people don't get. I can't say that the day goes by where I do not get the church, well, not me, but the church gets a message, whether it be an email or an instant message on social media or something, where somebody asks, I need an exorcist.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. But nowhere in that entire, I'll get this whole dissertation.
They won't say I need Christ.
They'll never say I need Christ or I need the church. No.
But you know what? I mean, I know you know this, but that's your way. You know what they need, right?
Oh yeah.
And so you.
But when they hear that, then they don't want me anymore. Then they're done with me.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it comes to a decision.
Yeah.
I had a case, right?
Are you going to put in the work, or are you going to not?
Yeah. We can't waste time on people that won't put in the work.
I mean, I had a case, and it was a recurrent issue. I mean, they came back to me, asking for a house blessing. I thought, what's this about, you know? And because you know what it's about, right? Mm-hmm. But you go, okay, you know, yeah, I think after the second house blessing, you know, and they came back, you know, 6 months later, and, oh, can you come and bless the house? Okay, so what's the issue?
What have you all been doing since I blessed
and
the
now
house?
there's a relationship, because, you know, and you go, what is going on? And then you find out there's a whole history of occult practices and, you know, various things, and you say, okay, and I'm not going to come and do a blessing. I'll come and celebrate Mass, which is the sacrament. To celebrate Mass, and where you have the intercessory prayer in the modern Roman Rite. I have to say that because I don't use the modern Roman Rite.
I know you don't.
But I can do. It's not that I refuse to.
No. You're authorized typically in the independent movement to use any liturgy you really want to, right?
That's right.
I mean, typically.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you have a bishop that's kind of a stickler.
Oh no, gosh, no, he's great. And so, you know, and so during where it would be in the modern Roman Rite, the intercessory prayer before the Eucharist, you then do a minor rite of exorcism over the house.
Right.
Okay? So, but I said, so I'll come and I'll do this. And in the end of it, I said, but I'm not going to do this unless you come to confession and your husband, you know, and you start. I didn't insist on the children. I said, and that you start coming to Mass every week. Now, I wouldn't say that to some random person in the street. I do. Obviously, I think people should be at Mass. Flipping 10 Commandments, right?
Yeah.
But you know, that's their business. And if they ask me, I'll give them my opinion, but I don't offer it. But when somebody comes and says there's a real problem, and there was a demonic problem in the family, I said there is absolutely no point in, and I will not come and do those things if you're not going to come to church, because it'll be worse for you. Mm-hmm. Because that would not be a kind thing for me to do. And again, it goes back to, you know,
well, I think it
goes back to the gospel.
To those that much is given, much is expected.
More than that, you know, it's the household, you know, cleaning the house. It's that gospel.
Yeah.
You know, but actually, if you don't do the proper job, it comes back worse. And so you're doing a disservice to people that aren't willing. I'm not saying that people don't fall away. That's a different problem. It is a problem, a different problem.
Yeah.
But they have to, in that moment, make that commitment. And this family said, we will make that commitment, and they meant it. And so that's what I did. And then they were at Mass for every Saturday night afterwards.
Yeah.
And so and that's when one of the great questions we're asked is, why does God allow demonic possession? Well, there was a whole family who were distant from God, who were at Mass.
See, my question is, why do you allow?
Yeah.
That's my answer.
I agree.
When someone asks me that, you allow.
Yeah.
Christ has given you the power to prevent this.
Yeah. You have free will.
So
There's
why
a
are you
There's a
making
medicine.
it?
Yeah.
Why do you make it permissible? Why you have freedom?
Yeah.
God gave you freedom. You're choosing to use your so beneficial way.
Yeah, I mean, a more sarky way of putting it would be to say the tabernacle in my church is not possessed.
There you go.
Right, yeah, there you go. It's
You know?
true.
You got that right.
Yeah.
And no tabernacle is.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but you know, that led to great fruit. You know, that whole family came to faith, and more than that, their extended family came to faith.
Oh, that's awesome.
See, and that
or
sometimes
return to
happens,
faith.
and that's beautiful when it does.
It's a great story,
Yeah.
you know, and you
This
know, that's
church has saved so many people that way. Just the way you're talking about.
Well, and more that you would never know.
More,
if you watch the show.
Yeah.
I
would say
know
that the show has done a lot of good.
There'll be lots of people who watch the show and went back, whatever church they came from, went back.
Yeah.
And do you know what? If they went back once, that's fruit.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think you have to.
You don't lose the grace that you accumulate. It
Absolutely.
goes dormant, but you don't lose it.
No. Well, it's a bit like being a cop, right? You get some probationer assigned to you. You know, when you've been in a few years, they send the probationers to you because no one else can put up with them. So they get sent to you. And
the rookies.
Yeah, that's right. I used to get the rookies that had failed their street duties with the first.
So you were the second chance.
I was the last chance.
Last chance.
And with me, they'd either get their act together or resign.
Right.
And so, because I used to say to them, I wasn't horrible to them, but I'd say, do you want to do this for 30 years? Like, seriously? Do you want to,
what are you getting yourself into?
This isn't really for you. You want to do this? And, anyway, but, what was I going to say? But I was going to say something about the, because it's similar to police work, but,
it's very similar.
That kind of...
I think that's why it works.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of what you do.
Oh, it was about reward, right? Because the join, these idealistic probationers, I'm going to change the world. No, you're not, son.
Yeah.
You're not. But you might change this person right now.
I love your passion, however,
and you can change it right now. Tomorrow, she might go back and get murdered. Right?
You'll change that person's world.
But right now, tonight, she will not get murdered. That's the difference you make. You've got to shrink your reward mechanism, right? We need rewards in life. You've got to shrink it down to what are actually sensible rewards, i.e., what you can have any influence over.
If you can make one heart contrite, that's
absolutely.
I mean, I remember a story when I worked narcotics of a woman who was very strung out on meth, and I popped her and her dealer for several ounces.
Yeah.
I mean, she was going away for 5 to 10. She wasn't.
She
wasn't the issue. She was kind of a victim.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. Yeah.
But she ended up getting, I think, 3 due 1, and they gave her credit for jail time, and she straightened out while she was in there. And I remember when I arrested her, we had a little talk because
are you suggesting that enforcement of the law can actually lead to better results than ignoring?
If you do it right.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I remember in the process of arresting her, and her, crying and being upset and saying that she just can't shake it, and so we had a little mother-daughter talk kind of thing. She was young, and fast forward a year and a half later, and this woman comes to the sheriff's office and brings me a little angel, and I'm like, "What's this for?" And she goes, "You're my angel. You saved my life." I'm like, well, hell, I'm good now. Like, I don't care if I do anything else in my career. I got her.
It's true.
So I mean, you change that one life,
and you've got no
idea.
idea.
You don't even expect to. It's like I moved on. It's like
absolutely.
Okay.
That was like,
but
job
when they come back
yeah.
and they thank you for arresting them.
Yeah,
it's like if you wouldn't have arrested me that night, I would have killed myself.
I'd be dead. Yeah.
So
you do have to shrink that
so
down.
So you have to, of the 90% of people that are just bullshit and just want you to wave a wand and heal them, there's that one.
Yeah.
And you don't always know
legit.
who that's going to be.
And you never know.
So you have to be.
And so
you have to be open.
It can be very frustrating,
and it often
but
shocks
it's worth,
you who it is.
It's worth it.
Sometimes it surprises.
There was I'll say his first name. His name was Sean, and when I was a rookie cop, I was in a town in Oxfordshire, and he was just like, he was the same age as me actually, because I was 20 when I joined, right? So and it's always a bit like when you first join and someone's the same age as you and you're young, it's hard,
Yeah,
it's like
is.
because
These are your peers.
everyone exactly.
Right.
So, but he was a real pain in the ass, and would rob people, and I lived in the town. Like, I used to see him every day. Like, he was so off his head on drugs. He'd be like, "I know you, don't I?" I was like, "Yeah, you do, Sean. I nicked you yesterday." And anyway, I couldn't believe it. I went into custody, and this is, a lot of cops become cynical. Me too. Right?
Oh yeah,
Me
I
too.
was very cynical.
Cynicism is a safety mechanism, right?
It's a crutch.
It's to stop your heart getting
Priesthood
broken.
does that to me sometimes.
It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, it's to stop your heart getting broken. But so yeah, I was pretty cynical, and I walked into Oxford custody with something else, right? And there's Sean in custody, but he was arrested on an old warrant, and whatever it was. But he'd obviously sorted himself out, and like I saw him in custody, I was like, "Who the hell are you?"
Right.
Like, this is a guy I've dealt with every day for years, you know. And I was like, seriously, like the last person I would have expected to sort themselves out, and it was him. I couldn't.
Yeah,
Couldn't
they
believe
look,
my
they look
eyes.
completely different too. I mean, they
man.
fill out, their eyes change,
Yeah.
they gain weight, they look healthy.
And
their skin's
he was
healthy.
normal. You could talk
Right,
to
they
him.
can have a conversation
Yeah.
with you.
I
Yeah,
couldn't believe my eyes, honestly.
so it's
All
a
the
rarity,
people-
but
I would have thought he was doomed.
yeah,
You know, and
because a lot of them are.
it
I
tells you
mean,
something about, you know, you're not God, and so. But the same when it comes to ministry, you have to small goals. You have to realise are actually massive goals.
Yeah.
Every time you baptize a person, that's a soul saved.
Yeah.
That's not small.
Right.
You know, and it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter if it's some people who don't really know what they're doing. They've had a baby. Oh, you know, I think we should get it christened. You know, great. That's a soul save. Do we not believe in the power of baptism? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the pre-circumstances are. That's the goal.
Well, you do what you can, and you and I mean that's why I emphasize the cultivation of grace.
Yeah.
And rather than trying to get into the specifics of morality and living life a certain way, and trying to get people to be a certain way, I rather emphasize, how about you just cultivate grace takes you?
Yeah.
Because the morality will blossom from there. You'll get to a point where the grace changes you. And then you don't have to make the active decision to become someone other than who you've been. You, through relationship, become that better. The majority of Christianity is going about it in the complete reverse way.
Yes.
It's wrong. To just sit up there and preach condemnation without relationship is pointless.
Absolutely.
I mean,
because that's actually higher order stuff, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the mentor model, which is a far better model of Christianity, right?
Yeah, right.
It's what Jesus did with the disciples, after all. It's more of saying, Jesus often said in the Gospels, "I speak to them in parables, but to you I speak plainly."
yeah.
In other words, and it's not to say that he wasn't saying the disciples are better than something. That wasn't the point. The point was before you get to the point of right, in order to be able to say to somebody, "Shit up," you have to love them first.
Yeah.
And that love comes through relationship, because there's nothing. Love can't exist outside of relationship. And so, in other words, in a sermon to say, "Fix your shit up," to blanket group of people who you know to varying degrees and you know who process things at different paces and whatever, is such a well, it's such a blunt instrument. It's like hitting them with a baseball bat, you know. That's not how it works, and that's why homilies. Look, I preach some pretty spiky homilies.
I do too. I mean,
You know,
it happens.
but I never do it in a way to say you're all worms. If I ever do that, it's to say we're all worms, me included.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Always,
and so, and of course we're not. You know, it's to bring people to a point, but you have that relationship.
I think it's to kind of shock them into seeing themselves from the outside.
And actually, the easiest place to do the more kind of, I think you ought to think about X, Y, and Z. Really intimate. So it's only in the
If you can get them in there.
I know. There's a great story, Fulton Sheen.
Which, by the way, you're not leaving until you hear mine, because I have.
Oh, sure.
I don't have a lot of priests to go to.
No, I get it. I understand. I do understand. I've got a few Roman
Take
priests
advantage
around
of
me.
you while you're here.
Of course, but
Take advantage of it.
That's right. Although it's good for people to hear that we go to confession.
Oh, we
big
do.
time.
We do.
But there's a great story of Fulton Sheen. You know, he was at St Patrick's Soho in London, which is when I'm in London, I go to that church, a beautiful church, and the priest there is an absolute saint. You know, beautiful black guy. But Fulton Sheen was the kind of locum priest there for a while in the 50s, I think, before he was a bishop. And he's a great hero of mine and a saint of the church, I have no doubt. And he said a woman came to the church, and she was in this kind of adulterous relationship and this sort of despair really, and angry, but she came to the church. He didn't go to her, she came to the church,
right?
And she was a fallen away Catholic, right? So and he said, well, come into the church, I'll show you around. And she said, well, I'll come into the church, but I am not going to confession. You must not tell me to go to confession. So,
okay.
Which tells you something, by the way.
Right, she wants to go to confession.
Yeah, she. Virtuous man. And he knew who she was because her picture was on a billboard. She was a chorus girl, right? And so they're walking, and I've been in this church, so I can picture it, right? And there's two enormous confessionals, like they're like Russian Orthodox style, like they're huge.
Yeah. Right.
And so they're walking around the church, and as they passed the confessional, he opened the door and shoved her in, and closed the door, and he stood on the other side, and he said, "I never asked you."
I just shoved you there.
And then he heard a confession, and she then later became a nun. He received her vows.
Look at that.
Wow.
Like, and so it's that kind of thing where it was obvious he wouldn't do that to some random person in the street, but they came to the church, and to spot. And this the other amazing lesson from this, which is really important, is it was not the devil that made her feel bad. It was the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And not to make her feel bad, but to lead her to repentance and grace. Bad about sin. He leaves you alone when you're in sin. If you're feeling bad, that ain't the devil. That's Christ at work in your life. And respond. And look, the clergy's job is just as hard as the police's job. It's trying to spot something that's actually very hard to see,
right?
Without preparation. In the case of police,
experience.
Because intuition isn't alchemy. It's because you've seen a lot of things and you can predict things.
There's a pattern.
And the same is true in the church. To spot. Vocation. I've missed people, and I feel terrible about that. I feel the same about police. I think, that I got that wrong with that person. I told you a story earlier, where you think.
You can't operate perfectly. You won't. You're going to make mistakes. I think that's part of the humanity of the job.
Of course, the remedy to that is to go, actually, I made a mistake about that, and go, my mistake.
And you learn from it.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
And get better, hopefully.
I don't know if there's nothing you can do to prepare for the work. There's nothing seminary can give you that really prepares you other than...
I think contemporary seminary...
honestly, I think I learned more about how to do this job well with a degree in psychology than I ever got from seminary.
Look, most of the people I was at seminary with, and I went through a kind of, what you might call a traditional seminary experience. They were really good people, and they are really good people. Great people, actually, but quite timid.
Yeah. Well,
because the church encourages that. They like introverts, right?
They do, and they
actually are very afraid of extroverts. I terrify people.
I know they do, but it's bad in the sense that is that another one of them?
Jeez,
He's shredded.
But it's bad. It's bad in the sense that people sometimes find this vocation through a running away from reality, or running away from life.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh, it shredded his
that's
wing.
Dude,
It's right there, look.
I thought it got shredded.
Yeah, I got him.
that was a bad decision, bro.
Is that monasteries in particular deal with this? They're people running away from the world, and they see it as a safe place. And then you get the little cliques that sometimes happen where really bad things can occur.
Oh yeah.
But I mean,
Well, Michael Ramsey, when he was Archbishop of Canterbury, Anglican, he was the last, I think, the last real.
decent one.
But he went to the I think it was Cistercians. He went to a monastery in northern France.
Yeah.
And he quipped, you know, you're not a mystical Christian. You know. He said, you're not mystics. You're just a bunch of introverts. And I think that is often, it can kind of look like piety.
It can. Mysticism is actually a very active
I agree.
responsibility.
Because I think I'm a mystic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm sensitive to spiritual activity. That's mysticism. But, you know... It's not the same thing. Like, and people can mistake extroverts as being impious.
They can. And see, that I think it is a misconception. I think it's something that can even happen internally, where people think of themselves a certain way when it's not true.
Yeah.
And I think the real problem stems from the fact that being a Christian is a call to action.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse to do nothing. It's a call to act. Even the monastery is a call to action.
It's gonna fly in my
It's
face.
a particular one. Away from the world. Even the Carthusians are
Well,
not.
I think the least understood words of the entire Mass in the Western Rite is not the Creed, though that is vastly misunderstood. Okay? But it's not the Creed, it's the last words. Ite missa est. Ite missa est. Or, in the modern Rite, you know, go forth, the Mass is ended. That's the least understood part of the entire Mass.
Thanks be to God, it's all done.
I know.
Right.
Exactly.
Thank God it's coffee
I
hour.
can now go and have my breakfast.
No, call everybody for a coffee donuts.
That is exactly how the laity
I
interprets it.
know.
Right.
Well, some of them don't
Go
even
and-
wait that long, Father. They're out after communion.
Half of them don't even hear
That
that.
is really bad. 'Cause it does happen.
It
But, you know,
happens.
but go, and it's like, yeah, go and what, have a beer?
I see it on
you
YouTube.
know?
Well, YouTube. I don't know if you ever do YouTube stream. Do you?
I don't, no.
Okay.
No.
When you're doing as the producer,
Yeah.
when you're streaming something,
You can see who's
you
watched
can
what
see,
when.
well, you can. There's a graphic image of your viewers, and it has a graphic line, almost like a medical device.
Yeah.
It shows the pulse of where your audience is, and
Yeah.
you get to communion, and as soon as communion is over, it all drops down.
Yeah.
So even on
after the homily.
streaming, or for me, it's even worse. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the homily. A lot of people tune
That,
in to
that,
hear
that,
me
that
talk,
does make sense in terms of the YouTube
and it is because they don't have the sacrament.
No.
That makes I forgive it on that
Yeah,
basis because it's like I get it,
Yeah.
but
Or
I
they
also
And the sermon's part of their getting to the rest of it.
and I think
So I don't
and
mind.
so it's okay.
Yeah.
It's still the same dynamic, and there is grace there, even if they
Of
can't
course.
receive. So I always encourage people, stay through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Pray with the Mass.
Yeah.
Even if you can't take communion
Yeah.
because you're not there physically,
It's a spiritual communion.
there is spiritual
Yeah.
communion. There is grace there,
Absolutely.
and you lose it if you drop off.
To say there's no... You know, I mean, lots of people can't receive Holy Communion.
Mm-hmm.
But their presence at the Mass means their obligation.
And they're still required to go.
Yeah, and
Well, that's the caveat. Required to receive.
so
That's the
I mean,
caveat.
the Orthodox are far more direct. It's come to confession before I start the liturgy. There's no communion for you.
And they'll do
Right.
it. I mean, what people don't get about Orthodoxy.
And the orthodoxy is also, why would you not?
All know, but you go to the average Orthodox because at least they know.
Right.
They know.
Right.
And that's
At
because
least
they
they know.
emphasize
Because they
it.
get
They
it.
emphasize the teaching. They're better teachers than the
They
Roman Catholics.
very
are.
much are.
Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
It wasn't always that way, but it is today.
It was like when people ask, "Are you going to excommunicate someone?" It's like they do.
They
by
did
their
it
own acts.
themselves.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Like there's very few things.
They did it
where-
themselves.
well, they expect the Bishop of Rome to bother to write a letter and
Yeah,
put
right.
a bull on it and send it to you.
Right.
No. That's right.
I mean, if anyone's going to get it, it'd be me.
I know.
And I haven't.
On the memo on the Pope's breakfast memo. or whatever.
I think Francis.
What did he
would
do
have-
now?
I actually think Francis
This
would
guy's still
probably
running his
like.
mouth.
I think you would.
I think
Yeah,
you would.
I think you're
I
right.
think you
Stella
would.
and George is
Well,
still running
on
that
that note, I love you both, but it is.
And we will be back
I
tomorrow.
gotta run in
and
back to the
we'll
hotel
get
and go to Newton.
I know.
And then
we'll get a
my
tripod
dog's
for.
the kid will go.
So our dinner tomorrow is 6 p.m. at
Okay.
Fogo.
Okay.
But
Can I wrap this up and then we can?
you
Let's
can
do
wrap
that.
it
Thank
up.
you everybody for tuning in. That was a marathon.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. There's some good stuff in this.
Well, I mean, honestly, I felt we needed to do something for the audience because
Yeah.
we've been
Of
dark
course.
for so.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Good night, everyone. God bless.
See you tomorrow.
Good night.